Good morning, Mr. Blaine.
Good morning.
My name is Parole Officer Logan. Excuse me. Today is Friday, Today is Friday, April 4th, 2025, and this is the Public Act 1584 hearing of the Connecticut Board of Pardons and Paroles. Mr. Blaine, for the record, the state of Connecticut passed and made effective October 1st, 2015, Public Act 1584, an act concerning length of sentences for crimes committed by a child or youth and the sentencing of a child or youth convicted of certain felony offenses. You fall under this act, and basically this means that you are under the age of 18 and that the board shall give great weight to the diminished culpabilities of juveniles as compared to adults, the hallmark features of youth, and any subsequent growth and maturity that you display while we are reviewing you for suitability today. The following board members are present this morning, and by stating their names on the record, certify they have reviewed all statutorily required documents in preparation of this hearing.
Good morning, sir. I'm Jennifer Zaccanini.
Deborah Smith-Palmieri.
Robert Sazowskis.
Good morning.
Also in attendance this morning is the public defender. Can you please state your name, juris number, and business address?
Yes, good morning. My name is Erica Barber. I'm an assistant public defender. Our business address is 55 West Main Street in Waterbury, Suite 430. My juris number is 436725.
Thank you. Also in attendance is the state's attorney. Please state your name, juris number, and business address.
Good morning. My name is Jonathan Pormicella, State's Attorney's Office, Bridgeport, Connecticut, 1061 Main Street, Bridgeport, Connecticut, 006604, juris number 444343.
Thank you. Also present is victim advocate DeJesus. Mr. Blaine, please state your name and inmate number for the record.
My name is Jayevon Blaine, MA number 354564.
This is a public hearing in accordance with Chapter 14, Freedom of Information Act, Connecticut General Statute 1200, which applies to this procedure. Mr. Blaine, if you have any questions concerning the above, please bring your questions to the attention of the panel at this time.
No, I have no questions.
Again, this is a public hearing. Do you have any questions, and are you willing to proceed at this time?
No.
Just say yes.
Yes.
This 1584 hearing is being conducted in consideration of the parole application for Jayevon Blaine, who was serving 20 years, executed, suspended after serving 15 years, followed by 5 years probation for conspiracy to commit robbery first with a deadly weapon. There is victim input in this case. There is an offender accountability plan for the offender. It has been reviewed and shows the offender has completed armed services trauma group, good intentions, bad choices, emotional regulation, coping skills, anger management. He's received individual therapy. He has completed Start Now 1 through 4. He has completed the FRG program, target group, voices, Tier 1, Tier 4, alternatives to violence, basic and advanced, dual recovery, beyond fear, parenting, employment readiness, and co-occurring disorders. Utilizing the statewide collaborative offender risk evaluation system, the offender's overall score on the RT falls within the moderate range of risk for recidivism. Mr. Blaine, this is your opportunity to express to the board why you believe you should be granted parole. You may begin.
Good morning. I appreciate this opportunity to talk to you today. I would like to introduce myself. My name is Jayevon Lamar Blaine, and I have been incarcerated for 15 and a half years of my life. I want to start off by apologizing to the families I hurt, the victim's family, the people in my community, and my family. On September 6th, it was a Labor Day weekend. I woke up, it was just a regular day. I went to the Greens Housing Projects. I came back to my friend DeAndre's house. His friends was there. We were all sitting on the porch and we talked about how they had just bought weed off the weed man and how we could rob him. We talked about the robbery for almost an hour. And I told them I would meet up with them later. Me and another friend went to PT to handle other things. I was involved in all types of senseless politics at the time. I was a menace with no bright future, and everyone knew it. I wasn't there that night for the robbery, but I do know Kevin Sula lost his life that night because a bunch of senseless teens had nothing better to do than plan a robbery for a couple bags of weed. And I was part of that. I could have tried to stop what happened to them, what happened then, and I could have saved a man's life. I know that no sorry or apology can bring him back, but I am deeply sorry for the part I played in that crime and that a man died for no reason at all. I also want to apologize to my family for the pain I caused them over the years and the blame I put on them for my own actions. I blame everyone else for the way my life turned out when I should have taken accountability. When I went to prison, I learned how much pain I had caused them because I found out what a relief it was for them that they knew where I was. My mother and grandmother could sleep better at night because they knew that I could not get hurt or hurt someone else. I caused my family fear, shame, and heartaches, and I missed my siblings growing up. When my son was 12, I spoke to him on the phone and he told me he wanted me to come home and do better, and that shattered me. I also want to apologize to him for not being there for him and his mother. When I came to prison, I was 17 years old. At the time, if you were to ask me who I was or where I was going, I wouldn't have been able to tell you. I was resentful and depressed. I was mad at the world. I felt like I had nobody and nothing. I was alone. I always said that my mother gave birth to me, but the streets raised me. I was gangbanging hard. I was selling drugs, carrying guns. My grandmother didn't like what I was involved in, but the reality is that back then, nothing was going to get me off the streets. Not her, not my mother, not anyone. It was going to be jail or death. In the beginning of my sentence, I just wanted to do my time. I was still taking shortcuts, making bad choices, and hanging around the wrong people. The people I grew up with in my neighborhood did time with me. They were in and out of prison. I was in a cell with someone I grew up with. To be honest, things were not much different for me. My mind was still in the same spot as when I came in. Things didn't really change for me until I left NYI. And I was around older gentlemen. These men pushed me to do better and told me I still had life ahead of me. I still had plenty of intersections where I wasn't sure which way to go. But as time went on, I learned. In 2016, I went to SAG for 7 days. At that time, I had enough. It was really the first time in years that I had peace of mind, freedom from distractions, and time to think. I told myself that I had to change. I found my faith, and after that, I had to cut a lot of people out of my life who were no good for me. People who had supported me financially in prison, cousins, family, friends. It really hurt me to do this because they felt like my family, but most of them have their own agendas, and it's the same street politics. I realized that if I was going to better myself, I had to put myself first and acknowledge my own flaws and move forward. I have been in jail 15 and a half years. The people that I kept company with are either dead or they are on the same corner selling drugs, using drugs, or committing the same crimes they committed 15 years ago. It makes me sad because it makes me realize that when I had my freedom, I was once doing the same thing. And I realized that there's much more to life than that. The things that impressed me when I was young no longer interest me. In the neighborhood where I come from, it's easy to live a negative life. The people you think who are getting ahead in life, selling drugs, committing crimes, that doesn't take work. Being positive and changing your life does. It takes extraordinary work. I put myself in programs. I've probably done well over a dozen. I did programs I didn't have to do. The biggest thing I really learned from these programs was how to ask for help. When I was a kid, I never knew how to do that. I didn't even know how to spell my name. I was embarrassed to say things out loud because I might use the wrong word. I paid people in prison to read my letters for me. I was ashamed that I didn't know what others said to me. I was ashamed that I didn't know what others said to me because I didn't understand certain words they used. I used the same phrase when I talked to people. That's crazy because Usually people believe that I understand what they were talking about. Things changed for me when I learned how to read. My study taught me how to read. I started going to school every day. I learned social studies, science, all the things I couldn't learn and didn't take serious when I was home. I learned how to hold a conversation with someone about things going on in the world, conversations I would have had to walk away from before due to my lack of knowledge and understanding. I also learned how much I love to work. I worked in the kitchen. I've been a prep cook. I worked in the warehouse. I cleaned the floors. I worked in the laundry. If work started at 5, I will be there at 4:30. Work keeps my brain active. I have ADHD, so I can't play a video game for very long or play cards because I lose interest fast. But work helps me stay focused, and writing helps me too. It relaxes me. If you grant me parole, I would like to go to a halfway house in the North London area. It's a new environment for me and an opportunity to start fresh and have positive relationships with people. I want to do whatever programming is available to me. I also have a good relationship now with my mother and brothers and sisters who are workers and have jobs and are productive people. If I continue to take the initiative and ask for help, I'm going to be okay. I want to show my son and my family that I can overcome any obstacles and move forward with a positive life. Thank you for this chance.
Okay, Mr. Blaine, thank you for your statement. So this panel has reviewed your case thoroughly. We have our records from the police report, the time of the offense, and court proceedings, your PSI, all of your institutional records with the Department of Correction. In addition, Attorney Barber submitted a packet on your behalf that we've reviewed. I think we did get some late stuff yesterday, so hopefully my panel members had the opportunity to read that. We'd ask that you not submit anything after maybe a week or two before the hearing. So we're very well versed in your case, sir. We do have questions for you. When we're done with our questions, we'll turn to the Office of Victim Services for any input that they may have. And then the state's attorney and your attorney will have the opportunity to speak. Okay?
Yes.
We'll begin our questioning with my colleague, Ms. Smith-Palmieri.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning, Mr. Blaine.
morning.
Very nice job on your opening statement. I appreciated all the detail that you put into that and your candidness with discussing the offense. Because we did read that you denied being at the scene of the robbery, but
Yes.
you admit to being involved in the planning of the robbery.
Yes.
Okay. And when you say that you were involved in the planning of the robbery, where were you when the other men left, or the other young men left to go commit the robbery?
I had went somewhere with another friend. I was supposed to meet back up with him to tell you the truth to do the robbery, but I guess the time frame of I missed the time frame, and when I met back up, they was already gone.
So then why do you feel, if you were not there, why do you think you were implicated in the robbery?
Because I was already known. I was already a young teen known in my area for committing robberies and running around with guns, acting senseless.
And as a matter of fact, you were serving a sentence for robbery when you were arrested on this case. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. And the co-defendants were friends of yours?
No, I had met my co-defendants through my friend DeAndre.
You were friends with DeAndre, but you really didn't know the other boys.
No, I didn't know the other boys.
Have you? Yeah.
DeAndre, your stepbrother, half brother?
Nah, that's somebody I just grew up with.
Okay.
Yeah, I read that somewhere. Yeah. Thank you.
So tell me exactly what you take responsibility for.
I take responsibility for being a reckless teen my whole life. Like, I take responsibility for the fact that I indulged in the planning of a robbery that caused another teen his life for senseless behavior.
How do you think this offense affects the family? I heard you apologize. to the victim's family. I heard you apologize to your family for the pain you've caused them, but what do you think this is like for the victim's family?
No words could explain what it's like for the victim's family, because they don't get a chance to see their son no more grow up. They don't get a chance to see their son have children and get married. So can no words explain, or can no words actually explain how the family feels?
Right. But here you are saying you were not there when the victim was killed. How do you think the family manages that?
Not well at all.
So, we are not necessarily here to retry the case. We do want to hear your, your version of it and what you believe to be your responsibility to the overall crime. So I do get a sense that we have that. You talked a lot about change and taking some time, and over the years, how you matured and grown. And in your opening statement, I heard you use the phrase, one second, politics. You were involved in senseless politics on the streets. What did you mean by that?
Well, what I mean by that was the things that's going on in the streets, like the gang activity I was involved in, the crime stuff that I was involved in with other friends and stuff.
So what gang were you involved in the streets?
I was involved with the Stack Boys when I was on the streets.
The Stab Boys?
Stack Boys.
Okay. All right, and while we're on the topic of gangs, you have a number of disciplinary reports. And when we look at them, not that we condone them, but we can understand how, as a young guy, a young person newly incarcerated, that you have some troubles initially settling in, following the rules. But you have these two recent disciplinary reports in 2003 and 2004 for being involved with the Bloods, with the gang. And you admitted to both of those disciplinary reports. You pled guilty.
Yes.
And you're currently housed in, as a gang member. So how would you say that again?
Now, I finished the program. I'm just waiting to get moved.
Okay, but technically you're still there.
Yes.
Okay, so can you tell us a little bit about why you re-engaged in that behavior?
I had certain family members that I was calling. I'm not gonna say a lie. Certain family that I was calling, they're still involved in that, and I learned that even though I love them, I can't love them the way I love them now. I gotta love them from a distance, because I see that still being involved with certain family members is gonna get me still put in certain gyms, stuff like that. So I take full responsibility for my actions with that, like that. I was in contact with a local gang member.
But they have you on the phone actually talking about gang activity.
Yeah, they had me on the phone talking about a fight that happened in my unit. I was telling somebody about a fight that happened in my unit, and they told me that's part of politics, SRG politics and stuff. And that's what I got the ticket for, because I got asked why we on lockdown. I said, yo, these dudes just jumped somebody, boom, 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 X, Y, and Z. And I got taken to SAG for SRG politics, talking about what was going on in the unit.
No, so you said in your opening statement that you had to let go of old friends, not be in contact, they weren't good for you. So, I find it hard to appreciate that you somehow got engaged in this with these family members, even though they're family members that you knew were known gang members. Do you have any sort of more you can add to that?
Like, I separate myself with certain people, but this is one family member that I ain't gonna. He was coming to see me, and he been like, they were helping my family my whole time incarcerated. And I realized now that, like I said before, I realized now that I gotta love him from a distance. Like I can't. I felt talking when I wasn't harming nobody, but in all actuality, dealing with him, I caused harm to myself by putting myself in a predicament where I had to do the game program and stuff. So now I took the initiative and I stepped back and stopped dealing with him due to the fact that I knew where it got me and I no longer talk to that person.
Well, so if he's a family member, how will you manage that in the community?
By loving him from a distance, by not placing myself around him and keeping myself separated from him.
But are they going to be looking to you to support their activity, even if you're not a part of it, or to look the other way?
No, because I don't plan on being nowhere in the vicinity where that person stays or comes from.
So you just finished phase 3 of the SRG program?
Phase 5.
Phase 5. Okay. How many phases of the SRG program have you completed?
All phase 5 of them.
Okay. And when did you complete all 5 of them? Over a period of time, or just most recently with these disciplinary reports?
Over a period of time. I completed the program in December.
So when you do these programs, what is it that you think you need to take away from them? What have you learned about gang activity and how it affects you and the community?
What I learned is that sometimes you think certain associates or family members is good for you, but they actually cause harm to you by getting you jammed up in certain things that you don't belong in. So I had to learn and tell myself that if I want to strive on the right path without taking any wrong turns, I had to distance myself from people, even though it might hurt me and that person. But I gotta do what's best for me and my son.
Well, I mean, that all sounds good, right? So what is your plan for that in the community? How will you follow that in the community? Because community, it'll be hard to be home and kind of be in that environment again, where people are expecting you to be the same person that went in.
Part of the reason why I feel I didn't only change my mind frame. I had to change people, places, and things too. So I changed the whole community I plan on going back to. I changed not going back to where I come from, because I know if I go back to where I come from, it might be easy to fall right back victim to the same stuff I was involved in. So I changed my whole surroundings and started dealing with people that come from positive places and dealing with people that's gonna help me.
All right, so we'll talk about that in just a couple of minutes because I want to hear from you about your release plan. But you've done a lot of programs, and I heard you say more or less that you volunteered for many of the programs and you had to advocate for yourself and ask for help. So with all the programs, some were required, some you volunteered for. Tell me which one you think was the most important for you to complete.
Voices and alternative violence, AVP.
Did you do the basic and the advanced?
Yes.
Okay. And why do you think the alternative to violence program is a program that was right for you to complete?
Because it showed me it's more than life than what meets the eye. Like I learned that, like, besides violence, it was more to me. Like, it showed me to open up to other people, and that's what really encouraged me to start asking for help. When I had to do that 3-day program with people I didn't know at all, I had to get engaged with people that didn't know me, and it told me that violence doesn't only affect you, it doesn't only affect the community or the victim. It also affects your family and yourself too.
Okay. And did it give you some strategies for managing violent behavior or managing your feelings that might push you to act impulsively or threatening?
Yes.
And can you name a couple of ways in which you think a couple of tools or strategies that you might use or have used?
Well, it showed me that when I'm home, when I'm feeling doubt and hopeless, it showed me that I could always turn to somebody that's positive to ask for help. That's what really helped me, ask for help and tell them what I'm going through that can help me guide myself back towards the right way before it's too late.
And since you've taken that program, which I have 2018, have you used those strategies or reach out to somebody to ask for help at the facilities?
Yes.
Can you talk about that a little?
I felt I was in a unit where there was a lot of mischief things going on, and I felt myself starting to flip. So I wrote to Counselor Cease Osborne in 2020 and asked her, can I volunteer and come to the Tier 4 program again, due to the fact that I felt I needed to be around positive and constructive people. And by going up there, it showed me, it got me back on the track before I could derail off and help me get myself going on. I'm doing better things and positive things.
Okay. So Tier 4 was that place where you were able to re-regulate yourself.
Yes,
engage. Make sure you were on the right track. And then you also mentioned the Voices program.
Yes.
What did you think about the Voices program?
That really was a wonderful program. It showed me the outcome on the victim from a different perspective. Like, what if my family member was a victim? What if my family member? How would I feel? How would I deal with it? It showed me the reverse role of now me being a victim of somebody doing something to my family.
So tell me about some of the feelings that the victims of these types of crimes might have.
Feeling hurt, feeling sad, and not knowing what to do.
So it sounds like you participated in the program and believe that you've gained some insight into what these crimes, whether, robberies, larcenies, all crimes, the effects they have on victims.
Yes.
What about the community? I mean, that's part of Voices too.
Yeah, the community.
What about the crimes on the community?
I learned that really about me, but the things I was doing, I thought I was just hurting other people, but I really hurting my entire community. So the things I was doing wasn't only, I created victims amongst my whole community, innocent people that didn't even have nothing to do with it, by creating chaos in my community where they felt like they couldn't come outside. Their kids can't play due to the shameless things I was doing as a teen. And Voices that showed me that, when the reverse role showed me that the things I was doing was chaotic and demonic.
I mean, you have a child, right?
Yes,
a child growing up in a community where there's violence all around them. It's unsafe, makes the child anxious, makes the parents feel anxious. And I'd like you to circle that back to what do you think gangs do to the community? What do you think the harm to the community that gangs are?
Gangs is harmful to the community. Gangs create chaos in the community, and they go around and try to recruit kids that feel like they have nobody in life. They do all the things that they wouldn't do.
What else?
They commit crime. They commit crime.
Crimes, violence.
Violent crimes, sell drugs. They poison the community.
A lot of gang members drop out of school. I mean,
That too.
You spoke about yourself.
They drop out of school. They don't listen to their parents. They put their own self at risk to be harmed.
So you can see our concern then with those 2 new disciplinary reports that you have.
Yes,
because we are concerned about you being back in the community and being harmful to the community.
Yeah,
Do you think should we be concerned about that?
I would be concerned too, but I know that I took all the proper steps to remove myself now, from them type of people that I kept the job the whole time in the gang unit. I didn't talk to counselors when I needed help. I didn't went to mental health when I needed help, and I stayed away from all the violent acts that was going on in the gang program to assure myself that I'm not part of it no more.
It's a small community. How do you avoid all that? How's that possible?
But I avoided all of it by staying to myself.
You've done a couple other programs. You did anger management in 2016 and good intentions, bad choices. I always like to talk about good intentions, bad choices, because it's really about decision making. So can you tell me a little bit about good intentions, bad choices, and how, some of the strategies from that program that you think will help you in the community?
Well, I feel like good and bad choices helped me with, even though I thought I was making a good choice talking to somebody, it ended up being a bad decision. So now that really showed me that in the community, sometimes when I feel like somebody doing something good for me, it really could be harm. It really could bring harm to me. So it showed me that to really take time to think about my action before I decide to do something.
Right. To think through those. Okay. So you would need to think through the consequences of what you are deciding to do before you do it.
Yes.
And has that been helpful to you while you've been incarcerated?
Yes. It's extremely been helpful for me this last year, though.
Now, you took that just before you had those 2 new disciplinary reports. So knowing what you know about that program, what maybe should you have done to avoid?
I should have never kept calling that person. And when I went to the program, it showed me if I wanted to get out this program and really change my life, I had to use them tools. So I had to think back to using those tools, and I had to stop calling that person. And then I had to stay away from the people that's in the unit that's going to cause harm to me going back into old ways. So I use those tools to navigate myself through the program without getting in any fights, any disputes or anything.
So let's think about being in the community. So you're in the community, and this is a family member that you said that you were calling, yes, reaches out to you and wants to pick you up to give you a ride to a job interview. How do you think through that process?
All I have to tell him is that I'm good on that, and I ask him respectfully not to call my phone, or I'll have to block him on my phone because I know that nothing good is gonna come out of it because he's not doing nothing good with himself. And
from what I know about gangs is they're very persistent, right? So you may block him from your phone, but he may show up outside your house.
I don't have plans on telling him where I'm living, and I don't have plans on being in the same community that he's in. And if he wasn't showing up at my house, I would have to do nothing but do the right thing, but I have to call the authorities because I know that if I don't, it could put me in a predicament that could land me back in prison and away from my son again.
So let's talk about your release. You want to release to a halfway house. And you think that would be a good start for you?
Yes.
Okay. And why?
Because halfway house has the tools that I need to help me reintegrate into society. And plus, I plan on going to a area that I'm not familiar with, that I don't know nobody, so I can get a fresh start and get great. Excuse me, and gain the tools I need so I could be established. So when it's time for my son to come live with me.
Okay. I hear you use the word tools a couple of times. What tools do you think you need?
Like going to programming, AAA, NA, going to learning how to do a resume, learning more parenting classes, and and other type of classes or that they have for me to ease myself back in the community.
So what do you need to be successful in the community?
But I need to be still in the community. I just need to have a strong mind, a good attitude, a job, and the right people. The right people around, be around the right people. That's gonna help me stay on the right path.
Tell me what you think will be some obstacles you'll have in the community.
At first, some obstacles I might have in the community. Finding a job, probably learning how to open a bank account, all the things that I took for granted in life, basically. Learning how to drive.
Anything else?
Staying from alcohol and drugs, and staying away from high-risk areas.
Those are all very valid things that you need to be aware of when you're in the community. Absolutely. You mentioned AA and NA. How about any kind of treatment? Do you think it might be helpful to do any type of mental health treatment?
I have plans on seeing mental health once a week and getting a regular counselor to talk to.
And I saw that you did some work with CCAR while you've been incarcerated. What's your involvement with them?
I finished CCAR because I have plans on taking up the DART program while I'm in the highway house to go get my become addiction counselor.
Is that your career path, to be an addictions counselor?
Yes.
Tell me what motivates you. What keeps you motivated?
My son doing the right thing and make myself, not only myself, but my family proud.
Okay, well, Mr. Blaine, I do not have any other questions. Thank you for answering all those.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, Mr. Blaine, we're not here to retry your case, but I do want to go back to the actual offense because I find it very difficult to believe that with 6 people involved, no one knows who shot and killed this victim. No one has ever been held accountable or taken responsibility. Do you know today who killed the victim?
I don't know who today. I don't know who killed the victim today. And if I did, I would have let it be known because if it was on the shoes on the foot, I would want my family to have closure too.
Well, exactly. Just imagine how this family feels. They will never see justice for the murder of their loved one. That's sad. And it's concerning because you were a pretty tight-knit group. In fact, you were living with one of the co-defendants, right? And the murder weapon was found in the bedroom you were living in.
No, I wasn't living with none of the co-defendants.
Well, you were sleeping in the same room. Were you staying with somebody?
I was staying with somebody, but he wasn't the co-defendant.
Mr. Harper?
Yeah, he was never a co-defendant in the crime.
He is a co-defendant. He was part of the investigation.
He was never charged. I'm sorry, he was not one of the co-defendants in the case.
Whether he was charged or not, he was involved. His name is all over the reports. And wasn't the gun found in a room that you were both sleeping in?
Yes.
Was it your gun?
I played with guns before, but that wasn't my gun.
Say that again?
That wasn't my gun.
No, before I didn't understand what you said before that.
I said I have guns in the past, yes, but that initial gun was not my gun.
Whose gun was it?
DeAndre Harper took responsibility for the gun.
Okay, so then he was involved, right? If it was his gun that was used to shoot and kill this person, then obviously he was involved. Anyway, you get my point. You all got charged with the robbery, and no one was charged with the murder. Very sad situation. Anyhow, you did receive the longest sentence because you chose to go to trial. If you take responsibility for the planning of the robbery, why did you choose to go to trial, sir?
because I didn't have nothing, because I wasn't there for the initial robbery or the murder. I didn't commit the murder.
Is that
But
what
I
you were
do-
being
I do-
charged with? You were being charged with murder initially, and that's why you went to trial?
Yeah, we always being charged with murder initially. That's why we went to trial. But I
Okay,
do
but you're
kill-
the only one who went to trial, right?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so was there an offer before you went to trial?
No.
No plea agreement? No, okay.
No.
So everyone else was allowed to plea down and take lesser sentences, but you weren't?
Yeah.
Okay.
To my knowledge, I really didn't know the court system like that at the time. So
Yeah,
I
of
don't-
course.
I
Yeah, you
can't-
were 17 years old. Yeah, understandably. I get it. I have similar concerns about your SRG tickets. Why did you plead guilty to these tickets and admit to being a member of the Bloods if you say you're not?
Because that's right. And the DLC, the DR hearing dude told me nobody never wins these tickets. And he told me if I lose, I was gonna lose all my sanctions, 90. So I just signed the tickets. I could get done, complete the program and get back to population to finish.
But you got those sanctions anyway.
I got on, but he only gave me like 30 and 30. He gave me the least sanctions. He told me I could give me the least sanctions, so he gave me 30. And I was trying to hurry up, get back to population so I could finish my schooling.
How many times have you completed the SRG program?
2 times. Once when I was a kid and now.
Yeah, once. I understand it was initially when you came in. How long was the program in total?
When I came in, I did 9 months or 6 months of it. And then now I did a year.
A year, okay. So it's troubling to me that you would get an SRG ticket in October of 23, where, you know, they reviewed your phone calls and your messages on your tablets, and they say that you were reaching out to ranking members, multiple, of the Bloods and speaking to them.
There's
So-
only one. Oh, sorry.
Okay, and then a few months later, 5 months later, you get a similar ticket. So if you knew, even if it's one, let's just say it's one, that's not what the report says, but let's just say it's one. If you knew that it was problematic for you to be speaking to them about the gang and recruiting people and whatever else you were talking about, why would you then repeat the behavior and speak to the same person 5 months later?
He was a family member. I didn't think I was doing nothing wrong. I wasn't recruiting nobody.
Well, but you signed the
I was-
ticket, so you knew they thought you were doing something wrong, and you tell us today that you were talking to a known gang member.
I told him I was. I'm not gonna deny I was talking to a known gang member. But I wasn't talking about no gang activity. He was talking on the phone about certain things. I was just saying, yeah, I never recruited nobody. Nobody can say they was
Right,
under
so-
the gun.
Are you saying it was the same person you spoke to in October of 23 and March? Was it March of 24?
Yes,
Was it March? Same person. What's the person's first name? What's the first name?
George.
What is it?
George.
George? Okay, so if they give you a ticket that you sign off on and read for speaking to George in October of 23, why would you do it again in March? They had already told you this is prohibited. It is against the rules. Why would you do it again in March?
When I called him in March, I was calling for some money and to see what, and somebody in my family had died, like a cousin had died. So I was calling about that, and he asked me why I ain't called in a minute, and I was telling him what I called for. I wasn't calling about nothing else. And I haven't. Then after I called that last ticket, I haven't called him since. I took the number off my list, no contact with him.
Right. I think you're missing my point. If you know you're not allowed to speak to known gang members, they tell you this and give you a ticket. I don't understand why you would do it again 5 months later, regardless of the reason. It just doesn't make sense to me. And that's why you got another ticket.
Yes.
And why would the facility make up the fact that you're recruiting gang members?
I didn't recruit nobody.
I know. Why would they make that up? You're quoted. There's quotes for the language that you used.
He was talking about recruiting somebody, and I was just listening. I didn't say nothing about me recruiting nobody at all.
Why would he have that conversation with you if he knew that you weren't a gang member?
Because he still believed that he still believed that I'm a gang member from the past. I don't gangbang at all.
All the more reason to immediately disassociate yourself. It doesn't make sense to me. I'm just being honest with you. And it really puts us in a very difficult situation. You've taken good programs, really good programs, but our concern is public safety, and gangs are very detrimental to public safety. You understand that? So you're asking us to believe you over the Department of Correction and take a chance and put a known active gang member back out into the community. Do you see the dilemma it creates for us?
Yes, but I'm not a known active gang member. I haven't been involved in no gang activities, no nothing. I finished the program with a bunch of gang members that's in there, and I've been working. I've been doing everything I've been supposed to be doing. I'm not a known gang member at all. And listen, when I was younger, yes, I admit, when I was younger, I did make a lot of mistakes and I was gang banging. But as of today, right now, 6 months ago, a year ago, I'm no longer gang banging, none of that stuff. I don't communicate with no gang members, no nothing.
I hear what you're saying. And the Department of Correction says differently. So in your interview, you made a comment, you were quoted as saying that you're still a work in progress. Tell us what that means.
I mean, I still hit bumps in the road. I still sometimes find myself a little lost, but I always get back on track when I start talking to certain positive people. But sometimes I do find myself slipping and I have to catch myself. I'm not perfect at all. I'm far from perfect.
Well, what would you call a slip?
Like I said, I talked to the wrong person, got jammed up, and it should have took me the first time, but it took me the second time to fix the problem. I fixed the problem, and I kept on going now, and I'm striving still to do. Still striving to do the right thing.
Okay, is there school in the SRG unit?
On like an hour every other day. If you're over 22 years old.
Okay, were you attending school while you're in the unit?
Yeah, I just passed my math test last week for my GED.
Okay, so did you get the results yet?
No, I'm waiting on them right now as we speak.
Have you taken any of the other portions?
Yeah, I took all the other portions already. The only thing I kept having a problem with was math.
Oh, math was the last section. Okay, all right. Well, I mean, it's very impressive that you learned how to read there. That couldn't have been easy. So congratulations. That's a huge feat, learning how to read, and it's only going to help you in the future. Regardless of what we do here today, you're done in 2 years. Which brings me to another question I had. You were earning rec time until 2023. What happened? Was it because of these tickets that you stopped earning?
Yeah, I just started earning again though. I stopped. I just got my privileges back to earn my rec. I just finished the program.
Okay. So that actually cost you more time too.
Yeah, yes.
Because for a year and 5 months now, you couldn't earn those 4 days a month. Wow. Okay, I'm going to turn it over to my colleague now. Mr. Sadauskas, thank you.
Thank you, Chair. My colleagues have asked most of the questions, sir, that I had. It was just one thing I want to talk about. Have you spoken to any of your co-defendants since you've been incarcerated? Have you seen them in jail?
No.
You have not seen any of those people involved in this initial robbery and murder since this happened? Okay. No. That's all I had, sir. That's all I had. Thank you very much.
Okay, at this time, we'll hear from the Office of Victim Services. Ms. DeJesus, thank you for joining us. Oh, is Ms. DeJesus with us?
Yes, I'm sorry. Good morning. I'm here.
Good morning.
I do have a statement, and it reads as follows. Excuse me. I spoke with the victim's father, and the following was relayed to me, quote, "He shot my son 5 times. He followed him around the car. When he was caught, he was incarcerated for similar charges. He is a criminal. I believe he should complete his sentence for the conspiracy to robbery, as my son was killed. I am against any early release. He shouldn't have the privilege to be released to parole. While he's been in jail, he gets to live life while my son is in a grave. I firmly disagree to any early release, as he has already received a lesser sentence than he deserves." End quote. Thank you.
Thank you.
At this time, the attorneys will be afforded the opportunity to make a statement. We will now turn it over to the state's attorney. Do you wish to proceed?
Yes, thank you very much. Once again, Jonathan Formicella for the Office of the State's Attorney for the Judicial District of Bridgeport. As always with these hearings, going after the victim and the victim's family it's always hard to listen to the pain in their voices if they speak, or the pain in the written statement like we just had, where it was a senseless act of violence that killed the victim in this case. And no parent, no family, no friend deserves to experience the pain of that loss. And that I don't think is lost on Mr. Blaine or anyone on the board or Mr. Blaine's attorney. But what I would say is Mr. Blaine has done a great deal during his period of incarceration to better himself, including the tremendous effort to learn how to read, and as he continues to try to finish his GED most recently. And Mr. Blaine should be commended for that, should be commended for his very good work record, of which he provided numerous work reviews and performed very well in those reviews and completing not only his required programming, but additional programming to better himself. And Mr. Blaine should be very proud of that, and he should continue to try to better himself during whatever period of incarceration he will continue to have, as well as whatever his placement is after he completes his sentence. I think Mr. Blaine has exhibited a good plan for the future as it relates to removing himself from a community that would not have the best influence on him. And his decision to seek halfway house placement in a different community, I think would help him in the future, or at least that idea of removing himself from an area that he admits that he caused a lot of pain to, but also that other members that are still in that community that could be a bad influence on him, that he wants to remove himself from them. And I think that's a great thing. With that being said, there are some concerns that I would express to the Board of Pardons and Paroles as you consider your decision. As I believe all the members of the board made reference to, at least briefly, is that Mr. Blaine had received 2 recent tickets related to gang affiliation conversations over the phone with an individual named by the first name of George. And those were in March of 24 and October of 23, which are very recent in time. And now those are concerning to the state. That and it's almost surprising to the state, given Mr. Blaine's acknowledgement that he shouldn't be part of that community anymore, because it could help him. Being part of that community would that Mr. Blaine did say that he no longer speaks to this George any longer, which is a good step. But those two recent tickets are concerning. And I don't know if Mr. Blaine's attorney could explain when she gives her statement, but that it involved getting money for family. I don't know if there was any additional information on that, but if the implication was that he was asking George for money for a family member, that's also concerning. But we probably just need more information related to that. I would also say that there is prior violent history that concerns the state a bit, including 5 fighting tickets. However, the most recent fighting ticket was in 2017, which, you know, was 8 years ago, and it was good of Mr. Blaine that he's taken programming, and the programming has helped him avoid that violent behavior while he's been incarcerated. But it is concerning that there is that history of it, including as he has gotten older. I believe he was in his mid-20s when he had his most recent fighting ticket. He does have the prior robbery conviction, include also assault 3rd, threatening 2nd, and pistol without permit while he was a useful offender. I would submit is also violent behavior that is concerning. I would also say that there had been a prior issue when he was younger with release, and then he has a violation of probation on his record, which again is concerning, but that was done a long time ago, and hopefully the programming that Mr. Blaine has taken will allow him to better reintegrate into the community. But again, prior unsuccessful reintegration into the community is a concern to the state. I would also say that Mr. Blaine apologizing to the community, the victim, and his family were very important. And that he takes responsibility for being involved in the planning of the robbery, but he does not take responsibility for the robbery itself, stating that he was not in fact there. What I would say about that is Mr. Blaine did pursue many challenges in post-conviction remedies to his conviction through the appellate court and under the criminal trial docket. He also filed 2 habeas petitions challenging his conviction. And so hopefully, you know, attending Voices, Alternatives to Violence, and other programming they completed tries to impress upon him about the damage that he's done to the community. I would just say with those post-conviction requests for relief, would indicate a slight not taking responsibility for his actions. But hopefully, as Mr. Blaine has continued to complete programming, he's coming back to that. But I would say those would be some of the factors I would ask the board to consider in determining whether or not Mr. Blaine will be released earlier than his max release date. I again acknowledge that Mr. Blaine's max release date is, you know, approximately 2 years from now. And so whether he gets out now or in 2 years from now or somewhere in between, Mr. Blaine does need to be able to reintegrate into the community well and address some of those more recent concerning behaviors regarding gang affiliation, which is incredibly difficult to separate from. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
We will now turn it over to the public defender. Would you proceed?
Yes, thank you. I also want to thank the board for reviewing the materials that we submitted on Mr. Blaine's behalf, and for your weighing of the various factors today. I understand that this is a difficult case. This board has the very difficult task of balancing the need to hold young offenders like Mr. Blaine responsible and accountable for their criminal behavior undertaken when they're very young, and balancing that against their immaturity at the time of the offense and their capacity for change. I know that Mr. Blaine is very remorseful about his involvement in this case, And I think more so, I think he recognizes that it was part of a much larger problem than this one day and this one incident. Jayevon was involved in a very dangerous lifestyle when I met him. And as he put it, the world held two options for him, jail or death. But I would submit that he has made extraordinary changes while he's been here in prison. And as he just mentioned to me the other day, I mean, in many ways, prison has saved his life. I don't think that's an overstatement. I don't want to go through each of the 1584 factors because we did submit a lengthy memorandum, but I do want to highlight a few things that I do think are important. I think his correctional history, his efforts to overcome personal obstacles, specifically his illiteracy and his trouble with learning. And then also, I think it's important to acknowledge something we haven't talked about a lot here today is that he's really rebuilt a relationship with his family, almost all of whom are very positive role models and who have continued to support him and will support him if he is released. In terms of his correctional history, I know that it pains no one more than Jayevon to be appearing here from the gang unit. I don't think it's a good reflection of who he is or what he's done in prison. I think it's very unfortunate. It's hard to talk about these issues. We all know that there are a lot of considerations that go into SRG affiliation. It can be very difficult for people like Jayevon when you have family members in the community, or if something happens within your family and you have continued contact. I think he recognizes that that was a serious mistake. And I think he recognizes that, he needs to continue to take steps not to be a part of that behavior. He has, I think what is also significant, though, is that even when he's gotten himself involved in this type of behavior, and he has been in the gang unit now for this period of time, you don't see any of the other standard indicators that he's a problematic inmate. He has not been involved in a lot of fights. He's been in prison for 15 years. He only has 14 tickets. Most of them are near the beginning of his incarceration. And he only has 2 tickets, I believe, for fighting as part of this sentence. And the last, as the state's attorney correctly noted, was in 2017, and that was nearly 8 years ago. So we see a lot of cases, in my experience here, in representing both defendants who are from this community. I represented Jayevon, representing them both at trial and then representing them here in front of the parole board. We obviously see a spectrum of behavior that is very different when they're 16 or 17 years old as compared to when they're 34 or 35 years old. The clients, when they're young, tend to be angry and volatile. I will say this, Jayevon was never angry and he was never volatile. He has always been a very patient person. He's been misguided. He certainly was not living a good life, but he was never angry and he wasn't violent and he wasn't aggressive. And he continues, I think, to show that now in terms of his period of incarceration. Overall, I think he's done a very good job of demonstrating his commitment to good behavior. In terms of the efforts to rehabilitate, what he has done here is really extraordinary. And whatever happens here today, I just want there to be a record of what he has done in prison and how he has succeeded, but also how the system has succeeded. Because this is somebody who came into prison and didn't even know how to read or write. And I think a lot of what happened to him when he was growing up, that alienation and that shame that he felt, all was just an offshoot of that. And it was very unfortunate that he went through the public school system without learning how to read or write. And I'm guilty of not acknowledging this myself. When we were on trial, I would write him notes during the course of the trial, and he would scrawl something in response, and I didn't even realize that he couldn't write. What he has to do to overcome this is something that I think is hard for us to understand. But Jayevon now, still, when he talks to his girlfriend on the phone, he has to write a sticky note in terms of the things he wants to remember to say because it's difficult for him to focus. So just for him to get through his day, He goes through extraordinary efforts to do the right thing and to stay focused. And I think he understands how important that structure is for him. I think the story that he told here today about contacting the counselor so that he could go back and do tier 4 because he recognized with being in an environment around people that are not moving forward is very difficult and can create problems. So I do want to just say that I think there should be a recognition here that he has engaged in programming and he really has rehabilitated himself. In terms of a successful reintegration into society, I think he has a realistic plan. He wants to go to a halfway house. He'd like to be in this area. He does not have any intention of going back to the Bridgeport community. His mother no longer lives in Bridgeport. She's in the New Haven area. In terms of how his priorities have changed, I think that what we're really seeing here is somebody who recognizes the flaws and the pitfalls of the community that he came from. And, you know, he talked today about how it was an easy lifestyle. And when he first told me that, I thought it was hard for me to reconcile that because nothing that he was involved in sounded easy to me. It sounded like it was chaotic and very difficult. But I think what he was trying to say is that it's easy to do the wrong thing. It's easy to go sell drugs. It's easy to get involved with the wrong people. What's been hard for him is to step away from that and be a productive person. And so the role models that he had when he was growing up, you know, the drug dealer with the flashy cars and clothes and women, he's completely changed the way he views his life. And now those role models are the productive and working people like his mother, like his sister, like his little brothers. I mean, these are people who work 1 or 2 jobs. They work at Whole Foods, they work with Amazon, they do nursing. So he has a lot of support in the community. And I think that's critical here. And just lastly, I would say that this has not been an easy incarceration for him. He has struggled with a lot of health issues while he's been incarcerated, and he's done a serious amount of time. And I know that we're not here to relitigate the case, but I would just say this. This was a jury of 12 people who were thoughtful, hardworking people who looked at this evidence for 8 days and then deliberated for 4 additional days and made the factual findings that they did, acquitting him of all of those charges. And I think that was appropriate based on the evidence that they heard. So I do apologize again to the victim's family because he does take ownership of his involvement with that group. But I think that in terms of the time he has served, it's substantial. And I'll just close by saying that, you know, Miller affords people like Mr. Blaine a meaningful opportunity to obtain release based on their maturity and rehabilitation. And Mr. Blaine is going to get out when he's still a young man. And I'm very confident that he is going to do the right thing. But I think he recognizes where he's made mistakes. And I think he's really invested himself in being a better and more productive person. So just thank you for your time today.
Thank you, Attorney Barber. Okay, at this time, Mr. Blaine, the panel is going to discuss your case and deliberation, and we will come back to you with our results shortly. Ms. Smith-Palmieri.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So, you know, right off the bat, it would be a much easier case if we did not have the 2 most recent disciplinary reports. Because Mr. Blaine was 17 years old when he committed this offense. He's 33 years old now. We know the brain through science. We know all about brain development of young individuals who act impulsively and recklessly. And Mr. Blaine was a part of the worst type of behavior that our communities suffer from, which is gang involvement. They're known for their violence, their recklessness, and just how they wreak havoc on those innocent people that live in the communities. And I think I did get a sense from Mr. Blaine that he does understand the harm that gangs cause to young people through their recruitment, the crimes they commit. And he's a victim himself of not being educated, of being illiterate, which I'm sure is much to his involvement early on with the gangs. He served 15.5 years, as he stated in his opening statement. He was incarcerated for a robbery conviction when they arrested him on these charges. He has done a number of positive programs, many of which he volunteered for. By my estimation, it was about 13 programs. We did not even ask him about the jobs that he's held at the facility. And currently, my notes indicate he's working in the laundry, and he has been going to school working on his GED. I am thrilled to hear that he was able to take the math portion of the test, and I'm hoping that he passes. That would be a great accomplishment coming back to the community. He has a lot of positive support in the community. There were letters submitted from family members and friends offering support and positive reinforcement when he is back in the community. I appreciated his candidness with his involvement with the gangs prior to coming in. While he was involved, he has done the SRG program twice. That is not a fly-by-night program. Most recently, he spent a year completing that program. We do have information that was confirmed by the parole officer that his packet for release from the SRG unit is pending signature. So that I see that as a positive. And, you know, his plan to be back in the community is a reasonable plan. Going to the halfway house will provide him with some necessary resources. For an individual like himself that was 17, he's been incarcerated since even before he was 17. Coming out now as a young man, a little bit older, more mature, he will need to face some obstacles. I think one will be, you know, just staying away from those family members that are still involved in gang activity in the community. And he'll have to find a job, continue his education. He does score on our risk assessment for moderate. I did note that he has addressed all the risk factors that were identified, which were, his age and criminal history, which won't change, but he has worked on his education. He's been employed at facilities. He has a plan for employment in the community. His social supports and his criminal attitudes, I think have, in my view, have been addressed through many of the programs that he's taken. I do think the fact that he is ready to release from the SRG program. I also get the sense that he's a work in progress. And I think that at his age that he should be a work in progress because we can always better ourselves as we go through life. I'm encouraged to think that he is able to process the consequences of bad choices. I think these 2 disciplinary reports are prime examples of making bad choices and not looking to the consequences, regardless of how benign you think maybe a conversation is or not. So I'm inclined to grant in favor of discretionary parole today with all that said.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Smith-Palmieri, and I agree with much of what you said. I mean, it's very clear that Mr. Blaine is not the 17-year-old. He's not of the same mindset as he was when he helped plan this offense. And, you know, I believe in the jury trial process, and I do believe that that he's remorseful for his part for helping to plan. I think there was some peer pressure back then that he gave into and was part of certainly a very negative environment. I agree. He's done every program and more available to him with the Department of Correction. He's held multiple jobs, commissary, tierman, in the warehouse, laundry, and had positive evaluations, excellent evaluations from the people who supervised him in the facility. I think he does have somewhat of a release plan. I think he is going to have challenges when he's released. But hopefully all of the programming that he's taken has prepared him for those challenges. For me, it really does all come down to these disciplinary reports. I mean, we know that he was part of a gang in his youth before coming in. He was part of a gang when he came in, actually. And I just can't wrap my mind around why one ticket wasn't enough. He's had 3 SRG tickets, but more importantly, the recent ones. I can't possibly understand why after getting one in 23, you would repeat the same behavior. And I could not in good conscience vote someone to parole from a gang unit. I understand he completed the program and he's waiting to get out, but the reality is they're very recent and he very recently completed that program. It's just not a risk that I'm willing to take at this time. So for that reason, my vote would be to deny parole here today. He's got 5 years of probation. I don't even know if he would be halfway house eligible with the SRG ticket recently clearing. Mr. Stauskas.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I also just want to recognize, like both of you have the amount of programming that he's done.
Yeah.
And taken the initiative to learn to read from his cellmate. You know, it had to be an extraordinary set of circumstances to be in that position. And he's done a lot of work to advocate for himself and voluntarily take the programs. He's done a lot of good stuff. I also come back to the two recent disciplinary reports. It's very hard. The tickets that he signed, that he pled guilty to, his signature are on it, is not what he's describing took place during his phone calls. It's you know, there's things in here that are not him listening to one relative's talk. There are quotes in here from him making these conversations. So I am also not in favor based on you know, his poor institutional adjustment for these tickets.
Okay, obviously poor institutional adjustment.
The nature of circumstances impact to the
Injury and
victim.
impacts of the victim's family. Okay. All right, ready. In the matter of Jayevon Blaine, inmate number 354564, I'll make a motion to deny parole for the following reasons. Poor institutional adjustment, as evidenced by the disciplinary reports, the nature and circumstance of the incident offense, and the injury and impact to the victim and the victim's family. Is there a second to the motion?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? This is a majority decision with board member Deborah Smith Palmieri dissenting. Okay, Mr. Blaine, we certainly can appreciate all that you've done and hope that you will continue to work on yourself. We wish you the best. Thank you to everyone for your participation.
Thank you.
This concludes the 1584 hearing for Jayevon Blaine, 35564. It is 10:17 a.m.
Like you got these things here. There you go. Yeah. Turn so you already line. I want to turn the volume up. Just hold. That volume, that ain't volume. That's it.
Mr. Nelson, we're not ignoring you, believe me. No matter, your attorney has got a private investigator that he's having work on your case. We're gonna continue to try to be there and maybe need a little bit more.
I like the video.
Could you use it on video? And we'll see what they know to do.
I think that's kids from the Rockville prosecutor's office.
No. I'm seeing you, sir, okay?
All right.
Thank you.
Hi, good morning. My name is Parole Officer Wintersman. Today is Friday, April 4th, 2025, and this is the Public Act 23-169 hearing of the Connecticut Board of Pardons and Paroles. For the record, Mr. Robinson, the state of Connecticut passed and made effective October 1st, 2023, the Public Act 23-169. It's an act concerning parole eligibility for an individual serving a lengthy sentence for a crime committed before the individual reached the age of 21 and criminal history records erasure. You fall under this act, and this means that you are under the age of 21, that the board shall give great weight to the diminished culpabilities of juveniles as compared to adults, the hallmark features of youth, and any subsequent growth and maturity you've displayed while we are reviewing your suitability today. The following board members are present this morning, and by stating their names on the record, certify they have reviewed all statutorily required documents in preparation of this hearing.
Good morning, I'm Jennifer Zaccanini.
Good morning, Deborah Smith-Palmieri.
Good morning, Robert Sazowskis.
Thank you. Also present and in attendance this morning, we have attorney Shawn Croshaw. Attorney Croshaw, if you can please state your name, juris number, and business address for the record.
Shawn Croshaw, my business address is 20 Franklin Square in New Britain, Connecticut. My personal juris number is 410-878. I have a business juris number, but I don't remember it off the top of my head.
That's okay. Thank you very much. Also present this morning, we have State's Attorney Matthew Gdansky. Attorney Gdansky, if you could also, please state your name, juris number, and business address for the record.
Yes, Matthew Gdansky, State's Attorney for the Judicial District of Tolland. The address is 20 Park Street in Rockville, Connecticut, and I don't know my juris number off the top of my head. We rarely use our juris numbers, but if you need that, I can gather it during the hearing.
Yes, that's okay, thank you. And also present with us this morning, we have Office of Victim Services Advocate, Ms. DeJesus. Mr. Robinson, can you please state your name and inmate number for the record?
My name is Shawn Robinson, but I don't know which inmate number you're referring to.
Mr. Robinson, the inmate number that we have in our records for the Department of Correction indicates number of 148846.
Oh, that's the one from September the 14th, 1986, up Morgan, I think from Hartford. That ain't me. That was someone else's. But I've been serving time under that booking number ever since 86 of October.
Yes, and as I indicated, the Department of Corrections records indicate that that is your inmate number, sir. You can please state your name and inmate number for the record.
Robinson, and the one you just cited, Shawn Robinson.
Thank you. So this is a public hearing in accordance with Chapter 14 Freedom of Information Act, Connecticut General Statute 1-200, which applies to this procedure. If you have any questions concerning the above, please bring your questions to the attention of the panel at this time. Again, this is a public hearing. Mr. Robinson, do you have any questions?
Oh, yes, I do. Like you just mentioned, I would like to know, do you have the right Shawn Robinson? Because like I said, again, that number was someone else's number. Someone's been using my name since 1986. And I've been trying to make the public and officials aware of this. People are aware of this. From September the 14th, 1986, someone was arrested while I was working in New Haven. I lived in New Haven, from New Haven, never been in Hartford, Morgan Street jail, or any jail in Hartford.
Yeah, I mean, I can't confirm any of this. We would have to continue your case to look into it further.
That's what you want to do, Mr. Croshaw, because like I said, nobody's answering that question. And that's a very important question. I have documentation that's showing someone was just recently arrested in Hamden. I got the document here. I try to explain this to the...
Can I ask you a question, Mr. Robinson? What are you incarcerated for right now?
Really, I don't even know. I really don't know. I honestly...
Do you know what you were sentenced, what charges you were convicted on and sentenced for?
I know they say robbery and riot, a riot that never happened.
Okay, so you were sentenced for a riot and a robbery.
A robbery from 1986.
Yep.
And a riot from 1990.
Right.
In Summer State Prison, which never happened. There was never no riot.
Okay, but so what charges or convictions do you believe don't belong to you but belong to another inmate?
I didn't say anybody. I'm not pointing no fingers and trying to say somebody else's or none of that. All I could speak is for myself. The 1986 robbery, I did plead under the Alpha Doc. Now, I came across some documentation of minimus from 1987 that it don't clarify, is ambiguous. It don't clarify what I'm really serving time for or what I did serve time for in regards to 1986 in New Haven. One part of the minimus says, look like it say robbery. The other part of the minimus says something totally different. The site of the statute is totally different. And I just discovered this. I learned this like in 2020 while I was in Norman.
Officer Wingersman, can you tell him the other convictions, please? The other offenses?
Yes. Let me just-
Right.
I have sentence of total effective sentence, 55 years, 6 months, followed by 5 years of probation for 3 counts of robbery at first degree, attempted robbery first. I have an escape conviction, contempt of court, assault in the second degree, rioting in an institution, and weapon in an institution. Those are the convictions associated with this case.
Do you recall, sir, being sentenced on all of those offenses?
The robbery, like I said again, I got a minimus, all right? It's been a long time, but I know that it was supposed to be in regard to a robbery. All of the particulars, the details, I have no knowledge of. But from what I seen on the minimus is something different than what she just said. What is cited, the minimus is dated September the 4th, 1987. On that minimus, and I brought this to the court's attention, I filed a habeas on that matter because I'm trying to find out exactly what I was sentenced and charged for.
Okay, and what did the court say to you? That's out of our jurisdiction. What did they say to you?
They got me appealing. I think they got a lawyer handling it. So I'm waiting
Okay,
to
so there's
find
no,
out.
it's in, you're waiting. Okay, do you want to continue the hearing until you find out?
We can do that. Yes, ma'am. We can do that.
I mean, it's not up to me. Attorney Croshaw, what do you want to do?
If Mr. Robinson is saying he'd like some time to see what the results of that case, then that's what I will ask for.
But we don't know how long the habeas is going to be. That could just, you know how habeas is take.
If this is your hearing, Mr. Robinson.
So I would go with the hearing because I done served whatever time it was on this charge of 1986. I done served that time 4 times over.
Okay, so you want to proceed today?
Yes.
Okay.
All right, so do you understand your sentence to be 55 years and 6 months followed by 5 years of probation?
I understand the 55 and a half years. I don't know about the probation, but I understand that.
Okay.
Thank you. So for the record, Mr. Robinson, you wish to proceed with the hearing at this time?
Yes, and one last question. Do you I would like to know from the board, do you want me to be straightforward or say what you want to hear? That's what I would like to know too.
We always want you to be honest. Why would we want you to tell us what you think we want to hear?
Because it seems like this is what's being tweeted in my ear all the time. So I want to be straightforward. I don't want to come here and run some game or say what you want to hear. I want to be as straightforward as possible.
Yeah, we would appreciate that.
And I would like to know another question. Do my innocence or guilt have any bearing on this honorable board decision?
No, we are not here to determine innocence or guilt. The court has already done that. We're here to determine your suitability for release to the community.
Thank you. All right. These are just questions I had. Since you, besides the third parties mentioning my name in these cases, I'd like to know if any victims, because I heard something about victims, or any physical evidence ever directly involved or linked me to any of these cases or charges. I would like to know is there any victim that says Shawn, this Shawn Robinson, I don't know about any other Shawn Robinson, but this Shawn Robinson ever did any crime to them? Or is there any DNA or fingerprints or evidence, tangible physical evidence that links me, involves me in any charge by the state of Connecticut?
Okay, so evidence, again, is out of our jurisdiction. We're not here to try the case. There is victim input today. I have no idea what they're going to say. That's handled by the Office of Victim Services within judicial.
Okay. And last question, will I receive a fair hearing? That's all I want.
Yes.
All right.
Thank you.
That's all the question.
Thank you. So as previously indicated, this is the Public Act 23-169 hearing being conducted in consideration of the parole application for Shawn Robinson, inmate number 148846. Mr. Robinson is serving a sentence of 55 years and 6 months, followed by 5 years of probation for 3 counts of robbery in the first degree, attempted robbery in the first degree, escape, contempt of court, assault in the second degree, riot in an institution, and weapon in an institution. There is victim input in this case today. There is also an offender accountability plan in place that has been reviewed and shows that he has completed individual therapy along with voices. Utilizing the statewide collaborative offender risk evaluation system, the offender's overall score on the RT falls within a moderate range risk for recidivism. Mr. Robinson, this is now your opportunity to express to the board why you believe you should be granted parole, and you may begin.
All right, I'm gonna keep it short and brief. I wrote a little something. Since 1986 until 2025, I have been held captive for an alleged robbery without ever being certified to stand trial as an adult, which means that I never received any adjudication or certification hearing before or after I was arraigned in adult court. I have had to learn how to survive on my own and all alone behind these prison walls and closed doors with full-grown adults since I was a child. And I have been in survival mode ever since. My adjustment to this adult prison environment and system was very difficult and trying. First, I would like to thank all of the fair-minded and good-hearted people who lobbied lawmakers to give children a second chance in the state of Connecticut. Because without you, I definitely would not be having this hearing today. Also, I would like to thank all of those who have tuned in to show their love and support. Uncle Will, Jay, Teddy, Tasha, Sonia Barbara, Curtis T, James Lewis from WTCC 90.7 FM radio in Springfield, Massachusetts, Attorney Alex Tobis, Attorney James Mortimer, Miss Sally Jorgen, Miss Ivelisse Correro, and Mr. Trey Brown in Black Lives Matter. I have tried to make the best of this bad, nightmarish situation by trying to attend school whenever I'm given the opportunity so I can get my GED. I taught myself how to read and write a little bit since my imprisonment. Also, I have tried to learn the law. I have completed and passed the RLA, Science, Social Studies, and Essay portions of the GED. I just need the opportunity. To take the math test.
Okay, is that the end of your statement, sir?
No, I was.
Oh.
I get to say something afterwards, once everybody else is done.
Oh, okay. So during this, my incarceration, being held in here for nearly 40 years, I don't understand why I am being denied parole the previous time. Why am I being denied a fair opportunity to be back in society, to be with my loved ones, to start a life that I never had a chance to have or start? That's what I would really like to know. And that's what I'm ready to do. And I can do that if given the opportunity. Now, people say my institutional record is why y'all denied me in 2015. And then recently, 2023, I was denied parole, claiming my institutional records. The parole officer, Miss Wingerston, she claims that I have a criminal attitude. I don't understand that. To say I have a criminal attitude. I haven't been involved in any gang activities, drug activities, or stuff like that. They say I'm incarcerated for robbery, but I've never had any incidents of stealing, robbing anybody, taking anything from anybody. So it don't add up. To me, it don't add up. So I'm speaking straightforward. That's how I feel. I don't think I'm getting a fair shake by the DOC, by the state, by this parole board. I done been up to it twice and I've been denied. And I'm shocked that I was denied, definitely the second time. First time I could see being denied, never came before the board before. In 2015, I said, okay, they denied me because they never met me before. But the second time, 2023, 8 years later, you denied me for the same reason, talking about institutional record. And at that moment of time, I had only received one disciplinary report since all the stuff from years ago. It don't add up. And then the parole board turns around and release somebody with a worse record and criminal charge than I ever been accused of. I can understand it. It didn't make sense. I was shocked. And that's what I told the parole officer. It don't make sense to have me in here as a child for 40 years, nearly 40 years, since 1986. I don't have no A felonies. I don't even think I've been charged with A felony. I don't have no murder charge. I don't have no rape charge, kidnapping charge, home invasion charge. I don't have none of these charges. No child molestation charge. People got murder charge and all these other charges. I don't have no terrorist charge. I don't have none of these charges. And people have been released. And I'm still locked up. And y'all say, hey, man, you got an attitude. I don't have a criminal attitude. I have a right to be dismayed and upset if I've been done wrong, unjust. I have a right to. I'm not going to be disrespectful. I was never disrespectful or on the first parole hearing. I see people walk out the parole hearing, disrespect y'all. I was like, wow, I didn't do that. Second time you denied me, I didn't do that. I listened to you, let y'all speak, and I tried to do programs and stuff like that, but I'm being denied. I've been denied the programs, but I still keep a optimistic and positive attitude. Try to do what's right. Reading, writing, doing whatever programs that's available. The OAP does not apply to me because I was sentenced before the OAP ever existed. But in 2014, 30 years later, nearly 30 years later, I said, I told the counsel, I'd like to participate in that OAP, voluntarily doing this stuff. You know, even though it's not mandated for me to do, I voluntarily try to get involved, do what's right, do what's expected of me. This is what I've been trying to do. I don't understand why it seems like people don't want me to do good in here. Really don't. And I can't grasp it. It don't make no sense. That's why I really don't even know why I'm in jail no more. I really don't. It's been in here so long. I don't even know why I'm in here or what they saying anymore. Real talk. I don't know. It's like a mystery. Only thing I know is that only difference between me and George Floyd, I'm still alive. Only difference between me and Emmett Till, I'm still alive. That's all I know. And I don't know what more can y'all want or expect? But I can tell you what I would do if I'm released. I would try to go out there and spend the rest of my life helping my uncle. He's 81 years old and living alone. So, you know, I want to be there for him. You know, he ain't got too much long to live. Everybody else in my family done passed away. DOC didn't even tell me my mother passed away. They told me nothing. They never even let me go to the funeral, play my last respects or anything. So everybody that I looked up and raised me, they're all gone. And I ain't been accused of even killing anybody. But everybody I love and know, they gone. I don't know if any robbery or robber ever did as much time as I had. I don't know. And it just is not fair. It's not right. I can't begin to understand the way that Al Rittenhouse can run down the street with an RA-15, kill people, and he's acquitted. I know if I was ever accused of something like that, I probably wouldn't even made it to court. They probably would have executed me, shot me right there dead in the street. You know, that's how I see it now. This is what I see. This is how I feel. This is how I feel that I'm never going to get a fair shake.
Is that the end of your statement, sir?
Did you want to talk a little bit about your discharge, what you tend to do when you're released?
Well, yeah, I would, if I am released, I would, you know, work. I would like to further my education. I would like to try to get involved in community activities and programs, stuff like that, help the youth and the elder, people that's unfortunate can't, you know, do for themselves. You know?
Thank you very much.
Okay.
I will go.
Okay. Thank you very much for your statement. I know you had some questions in there. Hopefully they'll be answered throughout our conversation here today. This panel has reviewed your case extensively, everything from the police report, time of your police reports, the time of the offenses, your institutional records that you've already mentioned, the programs that you've taken, disciplinary reports. We received a packet of information from your attorney. We will have questions for you. When we're done with our questions, we'll turn to the Office of Victim Services for input today. And then the state's attorney's office and your attorney will have the opportunities to speak as well. Okay, we'll begin with my colleague, Mr. Szyzowskis.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning, Mr. Robinson.
How you doing, sir?
Good. So, you know, I thank you for your opening statement. And, you know, you expressed some frustration with your sentence and the length of it and your lack of knowledge of some of the charges and that kind of thing. Just like my colleague, chairperson said, our job is to determine your suitability for release into the community. So we're not going to retry the case, and we are not the proper place to address like a long sentence that you feel is unfair and that kind of thing. I do understand your frustration, and I hear it in your voice, and you articulated very well how you feel about all of that. But we're gonna focus on some other things about your suitability and how you've changed over the years and where you're at now, so we can try to figure out if it's appropriate and you're ready and you're suitable to be released into the community, just so you understand what we're doing today, okay?
Gotcha.
Okay. So I read through all the paperwork, and I see that you maintain your innocence of the charges and that you're convicted of, and for many of the disciplinary reports also that you received while you're incarcerated. Well, I understand your position on all of this. Do you feel any remorse for your actions, or do you feel like you take any responsibility for anything that any of this that's happened?
I take responsibility of not obeying or listening to my grandmother. My grandmother, you know, she told me about places like this. I didn't grasp or understand at that time. I didn't know the magnitude. I've heard of Emmett Till, but I didn't know Emmett Till. I didn't really understand the magnitude of his death, what it meant, until really I saw what happened to George Floyd. Like I say again, I was my mother's only child, so I really didn't have any friends. I never ran around with people. So this robbery has nothing to do with me. It don't have my name on it. It's just someone done use my name or mention my name. I have nothing to do or anything to do with a robbery. That's why I took the Alpha Doctrine. The Alpha Doctrine, clearly they said that I'm not admitting any guilt. And I never did admit any guilt to a robbery. No victims ever said I did anything to them. There is no evidence. There's no fingerprints that's linking me to any crimes of that nature.
Okay. So what about the additional crimes that you were convicted of after you were incarcerated, the riots and the assault and so forth?
I tell you, the riot never took place. I'm on the last leg of this sentence, which is the possession of some type of contraband in a DOC. This charge, there was never no type of evidence introduced into evidence at trial that was contraband, weapon, or any nature. There was never no type of contraband on my possession. There was never no contraband ever shown, a picture or video, none whatsoever. Just a word of mouth of someone that I had problems with in the past. Now, the victim, I don't know him, and I never had a problem with him prior or after this case in 1990. There was no riot, sir. I kid you not. Nobody was brandishing weapons. There was no refusing to disperse. There was no one refusing to disperse. Mm-hmm. This incident of April 1990 was no more than a mere fight amongst some prisoners in the child hall in the prison. At no time was there a riot.
Okay, so the victim that you mentioned, you said you didn't know the victim before or after. Are you talking about the correctional officer? Is that what
that's correct? I never had an issue with him, but I know who he is now.
Okay.
But I never had an issue prior or after this alleged incident.
So you say alleged? Are you saying that he was not assaulted? Is that your contention that he was never?
I didn't say that. I don't know. Okay. It has nothing to do with me. I am not saying that. I'm not pointing fingers at nobody, and I'm not saying that. No, I was there, but I had no participation in any assault on prisoner or staff.
So it was more than just a fight between. You say it wasn't a riot, but you say it was a fight between prisoners. But a correctional officer was, severely injured. So it was more than a fight between prisoners. The correctional officer had gotten assaulted, but you're claiming it was not by you.
Well, no, I'm talking about riot-wise. As speaking of the charge of riot, I'm speaking like, a riot. There was no nobody brandishing weapons. There was no property destroyed. They didn't have to call in the riot squad and state police to quell any disturbance. Like I said, this incident relates or is surrounded and occurred due to a fight amongst a couple of prisoners.
So
that's how it happened.
I understand. In the reports, it said that the correctional officer was injured so bad he had to go to hospital and everything. It appeared that he was injured by a weapon, from what I read.
Well, like I said, I had nothing to do with that.
Yeah.
I think it was more than one staff member that got injured. It was several staff members. If I'm not mistaken, from what I recall, it was more than one staff member. Now, I'm not no Henry Lee, okay?
Yeah.
I'm not no science forensic expert, okay?
Yeah.
But I can tell you this, right? And I explained this to Mr. Croshaw. In my view, I think what you're talking about only was committed by one person. This is what I believe. I can't prove it. I don't know it. But this is what I believe.
You're saying there was no riot, there were no weapons, but clearly they were injured by weapons, and there were multiple staff members injured. I mean, it's sounding more like a riot now that you're describing it, to me, than a fight between two prisoners.
Like I say again, it was definitely no riot because under the statute, what I read and the understanding of riot, no one was refusing to disperse. There was no property damaged or destroyed, or they had to call in a riot squad.
Okay.
Now, during the process of the staff trying to intervene and break up the fight, that's when I think they was injured. Okay. But like I said, you're not trying to retry the case, but from my understanding, sir, from what I gathered in this incident of April 19, 1990, is that, to me, I think those staff that was injured in the way you said with a weapon, that had to be one person. I think only one person committed that.
Okay.
Now, like I say again, that staff that I was falsely accused of assaulting by another staff member that I had issues with, I had problems with, and I always had problems with him. Prior to this day, I had problems. He falsely accused me of assaulting Mr. David Shakowski.
You're talking about a different correctional officer, not the one that was injured.
That's correct. His name is Rodney King, to be exact, so we can be on the same page.
Okay. Rodney
King is the person that I had issues with. And Rodney King is the liar. In his report, he even has.
Okay. No, it's okay. Yeah, I think we're gonna. I understand your position. You're talking about you had a problem with a different person, not the victim. And
that person that I had a problem with falsely accused me of assaulting Officer David Shakowski. David Shakowski never said I did anything to him. I never had a problem with David Shakowski. I never.
Well, I understand your position, sir, and I completely get it that your claim of your involvement in this. I understand fully. So let me ask you this: regardless of your position that you didn't commit these crimes, how do you think that the victims were affected, that were injured? How do you think that how do you think they felt? I know that you claim that you didn't commit the. Go ahead. Some people were injured seriously. How do you think that affected them?
Well, I personally can't read one mind, but I can say from my experience of being assaulted in here, you know what I'm saying? I wouldn't like it. I'm guaranteed they didn't like it. They probably was doing their job. So, like I said, in the process of doing their job, they was injured. So I don't, they like them individuals never did nothing to me. That I can tell you. I never had a problem with any of those individuals.
How do you think they felt when they were recovered and it was time for them to come back to work? How do you think they felt about that?
I have no idea, sir.
How would you feel how would you feel if you were assaulted, had a serious injury, and then you had to go back to work to take care of your family into that same environment? How would you feel about that?
Well, if you look right here, on June the 22nd, I was attacked. DOC allowed somebody to attack me. You know what I'm saying? I didn't like it. You know what I'm saying? I wrote it up, and I was upset. I was upset. So I can imagine that if that happened to me, what happened to them, I would be upset because I was upset what happened to me. So right here, I was cut, beat up, attacked, and then when I defend myself, I get in trouble. I get fired. I lose my job. I lose my correspondence. They take my mail away from me and stuff like that. So, I can imagine.
All right. How do you feel like you've changed during your incarceration?
Well, I've matured. I'm 50, be 55 tomorrow. I'll be 55 tomorrow. I'm matured. I don't deal with stuff emotionally like a child would. I as an adult, I know how to write it up. I know how to think before I react. That's one way. I would say compared to back then, I understand that life is not fair. So just because I'm wrong, there's no need for me to hoop and holler. Just because the guard opened my door and allowed somebody to attack me and I defend myself, then I still get in trouble. There's no need for me to, just self-destruct. Instead, I write it up. Instead, I let the courts know about it. I let my attorney know about it. I let the right people know they can do something about it, like that.
Okay. I also read some information in here that you've been attending religious services and that you feel that helps you. Can you talk about how that helps you?
I'm studying in 10 religious service, number of religious service. It's something that gives positive energy, positive motivation. You hear something that, you might never heard before, or you might hear someone else's life story or problem or crisis. For example, Job. I guess if everybody ever heard of Job, Prophet Job, he lost all of these things, his wealth, children, but he stayed fast. He maintained some type of optimism, a positive outlook on life. So, when you hear those type of things and people prior to you, or for example, what Jesus went through, if he can go through it, then it gives you inspiration. You can do it. You can make it.
Okay, well, I'm glad that's helping you stay positive and give you some inspiration. I think you articulated that well, sir, about how you're benefiting from that. You had a hearing in May of 2023. You spoke about it in your opening statement a little bit. And during that discretionary parole hearing, they asked you to complete some any positive programs and not get any additional disciplinary reports. It wasn't that long ago, so I guess almost 2 years ago. Do you remember that hearing?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. And it looks like, when I reviewed all your files, I haven't seen that you've completed any programs since then, like they suggested. In addition to that, you've gotten disciplinary report for a fight in June of 2024. You've mentioned it a couple of times now. Is there anything that you think you could have done different during that incident of June of 2024 that could have maybe resulted in you not receiving a disciplinary report?
Only die. Only let them beat me to death. That's it, man. Because I'm single cell status. They got me in a facility that I shouldn't been in, Corrigan Correctional Center. I've been sentenced since 1987. I should never been there around pre-trial detainees. They had me in a facility that they sent me there to have problems as a form of punishment in retaliation for my grievances and litigation. That's why they sent me there. And so I'm in my cell. The staff, he has a key, physically opens the door with the key. It ain't like it accidentally popped open, or they made a mistake and he thought he was opening the door for somebody else to get it. They know me. I'm single cell. I've been there 4.5 years. All right. In that time that I spent in Corrigan from September of 2020 until this year of January 2025, I have received more disciplinary reports at that one facility than 3 facilities combined in the past 6.5 years. From 2014 to 2020, I was in Gardner, Cheshire, and Northern. And I only received, 2 or 3 disciplinary reports. In Corrigan, I received about 4 or 5, all right? And from the past 11 years, I only received like 8 or 7 disciplinary reports in the state of Connecticut. So other than me just balling up and dying, let them kill me like George Floyd, there's nothing else could be done. I'm in a cell, I'm fighting for my life, okay? I'm gonna defend myself. I ain't gonna sit up here and lie to you. Somebody put their hands on me, I'm gonna defend myself to the fullest, best way I can. I'm too old to be taking, getting cut up and stabbed and beat up, stomped out. I'm too old for that, man. I can't take that. They got me real good. I was attacked twice in one day. And the DOC promoted it. DOC staff there in Corrigan promoted it in retaliation for my grievances.
Well, why do you think that these people, the other inmates that attacked you, why were they upset with you? Like, why did they have a problem with you?
I don't even know these people. Never even met them. Never even spoke to them. It was promoted and instigated by DOC staff there in retaliation for my grievances. I'm telling you.
It's unusual for someone that's been incarcerated this long at your age to still be receiving disciplinary reports. You understand that, right?
Hey, I have no control of some of the bogus and false disciplinaries that have been used against me. All right. I'm attacked. I was attacked. I tried my best. I know what the parole board said. Why would I want to engage myself to some type of activity?
Yes.
Look, just check it out. Check this out. You know how long I've been incarcerated?
Yes.
You know how many disciplinary reports that Eddie said I done received over these past 4 decades?
462, it says 462.
Okay. Is any of those disciplinary reports, not one said I was involved in drugs, gang activities, or robbery, taking people property, or any stuff like that? Everything, they fight, okay? Yes. All right. This prison is going to happen. But that fight, I probably would never had if I wasn't in that environment. These dudes is younger than me, man. I'm not gonna let these dudes walk over me, man. For real. I'm not gonna let these dudes walk over. I think they give me, just because I got a little bit of gray now, you think you could just do what you want to me? Like, I'm telling you, sir, I never even met this guy. I don't even know this person. I never even had one word. Bad word, or any type of confrontation for this individual to do what he did. Come running in my cell. And then the other one knocked me out. The first assault, I got knocked out. I ain't even see it coming. I'm minding my own business. I get knocked out. So they didn't write me up for that. They sent me back to the unit. I'm all bloody, cut up. You know what I'm saying? I go back to the unit. Now I'm in the cell wondering what's going on, what happened. So all I could think of is DOC. So the DOC staff, he opens up the door. Patterson opened up the door. Dude come running in. Now I'm ready though. This time I'm in my cell. I'm by myself. I'm ready for whatever is coming. I'm ready. So I defended myself like I supposed to.
All right. You know, we oftentimes see people that have disciplinary reports when they first enter their incarceration while they're trying to adjust the situation. And these kinds of things you're describing do happen. But, you know, my experience has been as people get older and they get more acclimated to the environment, that these things kind of stop happening. And then, you know, when they start coming up for parole and we're trying to determine suitability, you know, there's been some years of no problems in the facility. So, you know, we like to see that so we can feel more comfortable with your suitability going out into the community. So that's why I'm asking about those things. You know, that's why we focus on. I understand your frustration at the last hearing was that you felt like they were scrutinizing you about these disciplinary reports and your behavior. But I just want to explain to you, that's why we look at that, because we want to see if you're suitable. Are you ready to comply with the laws of living in a community? You know, so that's why we ask those questions. When the parole officer interviewed you before this, and you mentioned this also in your opening statement, sir, you know, they asked you about your programs and your OAP, and you said, well, that stuff doesn't apply to me. So I'm trying to understand why you believe that taking programs and proving to us and to yourself and getting yourself help toward rehabilitation and making yourself more suitable, why does that not apply to you?
No. I'm not. I don't mean it like that. I mean,
okay.
OAP as for sentenced prisoners is certain prisoners that recently that got sentenced. It applies to them. It's like a mandate. So
yeah, you have an OAP, so you have offender accountability plan, and it lists the programs that you should be taking so that you can lead toward rehabilitation and successfully transitioning back into the community. They design these programs to help you with that. But so you do have an OAP and it does apply to you. And you should be taking those programs.
I signed that voluntarily. What I mean, okay, so this is what the DOC is saying. So when I try to get in these programs, and they say it don't apply to me. The people that it applied to, they get top priority. They get first come. They get the participate before me because it don't apply to me. I'm doing it voluntarily. I signed for it in 2014. I've been sentenced since 1987. So before OAP even exists, there was no such thing as an OAP. So I was talking to a counselor and she brought it up and said it would help. Help.
Yes.
Right. And so, it was something to do positive. So that's why I signed. I want to be involved in it. That's why I participated voluntarily. I'm not participating in it because it's mandated.
Oh, I understand that.
I'm participating in it because I want to show that I'm trying to, do good. I'm trying to do something positive with my time.
And just like when you talked about the religious services, that you get inspiration and hope, and all those things you said about how that helps you, these programs will help you in the same way.
Absolutely.
You know what hurts you in getting programs? You know how you get to the back of the list on getting programs? Is this disciplinary reports. That puts you to the back of the list, So they don't give people programs that are going to be disruptive during the program and have a record of getting into fights and other things. So that's not helping you when you try to get into programs,
So from 2014 to 2019, how many disciplinary reports I got? Because for like 5 years, almost 5 years, I didn't have a disciplinary report. So
and you were in a program. you took voices during that time, right? They put you in a program.
Okay.
Remember taking that?
Yes, but then how am I in the programs that they wouldn't allow me to take during that time? I didn't have any disciplinaries. So I didn't have, there's no excuse. I was in Corrigan all that time. I didn't have any disciplinary report for 2 years. Why wouldn't they didn't let me?
I can't answer why, but I can tell you this though, if you get disciplinary reports, you definitely go to the back of the list. You know, they definitely don't want people in the programs that are gonna be disruptive and that kind of thing. So you can understand why I do that. So on your OAP, your offender accountability plan that you do have, I saw that you have anger management listed on there. Do you think that might be a program that would help you?
I don't feel I have an anger management issue, but I would like to deal with.
It's more to deal with how to appropriately deal with stressful situations, and you know, the stresses that might happen to you when you're in the community, and how you can anticipate dealing with that so that you don't end up in a fight or some other situation. You know.
Right. Well, I would like to, if it has, you know, something that I can get out of it that's positive, of course, I don't mind having no problem taking it, but I don't want to sound offish, but if it's just to take it and make it sound good, I'm not going to just sit up here and lie to you and say I would take.
That's not what I'm suggesting. People have taken it, have come forward to these hearings, and they're able to articulate to us, like, you know, I learned these breathing exercises, the very specific things. I learned how to journal. I learned how to do things so that way, when I do get in a stressful situation or I'm encountered with a difficult situation, that I have ways to manage that, so it does not end up in me being arrested or in a fight or some kind of negative outcome. So. I have not taken a program, but I can tell you when people come in front of me, I believe them that they've gained valuable information from like anger management and from New Thoughts and some of the other programs that they offer in there. That's why they're on your OAP. You know, so I would encourage you, regardless of what happens today, to continue advocating for yourself to get into programs. It's only going to help you.
I would try, sir.
Okay. It's only going to help you. You know, you talked about your GED, and I read that you've been working on that. Can you just go over that a little bit? Where are you at right now?
I passed while I was in Corrigan. I had passed the social studies, science, and did the essay on the RLA. Only thing I was about to finish taking was I need the math.
Okay. Have you heard anything about that program or trying to get back into getting the math done?
Yeah, I've been trying to get that. They wrote me since I've been here. I wrote to the school. I wrote to deputy warden, and she said she would be trying to talk to the principal to get me in there to finish that. But I'd really like to do that.
Well, that's positive that they're responding and talking to you about getting it done. Okay. You know about this situation in Rhode Island? Are you familiar with this? What? Your detainer in Rhode Island?
Absolutely.
So, do you remember what happened there that led to another conviction? Like, how did that come about?
That's a possession charge.
That was after you were incarcerated that took place?
Oh, Connecticut sent me to Rhode Island.
Yeah.
Okay. So while you were incarcerated there, you picked up another charge and then you went to trial and received another sentence.
Yes, that is correct.
So regardless of what happens in Connecticut, at some point, you're going to have to get that resolved in Rhode Island after this.
Yep, absolutely.
Okay. Let's talk about your release plan. And you wrote about your uncle, and I heard you mention it today. And you know, trying to be involved in your community in different ways you talked about. Do you want to live with your uncle? Do you want to go to a halfway house? What do you think is best for you when you get out?
Well, I thought, you know, since my uncle up in age, about like 82, he just had a birthday last month, in the last month. You know, he lives alone. My aunt passed away, and his daughter, my cousin, she lived down south. So, you know, I thought maybe to be with him and help him out. You know, I can do chores around the house, you know, and you know, like that. We can help each other because he's been living his life for a long time. So he can show me how the ropes and the scoops of cars and payments, notes and mortgages, you know, paying bills, utility bills and stuff like that, grocery shopping, you know.
What do you feel about the area that he lives in? Is it a safe, would it be a safe area for you, you think?
That's the ideal area. It's peaceful. It's like way out there, you know, and you ain't got no traffic, no bad activities or acts going on out there. Norfolk, you ever heard of Norfolk?
Yes, sir, yeah.
Yeah, so it's nice out there, Norfolk. When I was real little, I remember being taken out there and riding on the horses. They got like this place, this ranch or this farm, and they allow people to come in and ride on horses and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's a nice part of the state, for sure.
For sure,
So,
absolutely.
Sir, those are all the questions I have. I just want to thank you for, despite your frustration with this whole situation, for being respectful and answering my questions. So thank you. That's all I have.
Thank you too, sir.
Mr. Robinson, happy early birthday.
Thank you.
I just want to clarify a few things that you said. You did make note of your last parole hearing, and you mentioned that you were surprised that they denied you when you only had one disciplinary report, but that's not true. You had 5 disciplinary reports, one of which resulted in outside charges. The assault, do you remember the assault with the fan?
Like I said again, that was no contest alpha doctrine. Only reason why, and I'm gonna tell you why I pled today, is because I couldn't get the parole hearing. They said while that charge was pending, I couldn't get no parole hearing. That individual also made it clear to the state and the DOC that they was not pressing charges against me. I had nothing to do with it. He never said I did anything to him.
Well, so I read the disciplinary report, and in the disciplinary report, you admit to assaulting him with a fan, and you say that you never altered the fan, so you didn't think it was a deadly weapon. You didn't think it should be considered a deadly weapon.
That's probably what they wrote. You don't have my handwriting or saying that.
You signed it.
I didn't get found guilty for no weapon.
Okay. All right.
So
anyway, I just wanted to clarify the point that you made that the parole board denied you for 1 ticket. That's not accurate, sir. But anyhow.
2015, if I'm not mistaken, I only had 1 ticket or disciplinary report in the state of Connecticut for alleged threats. And that's what I was referring to. But maybe I misspoke. I thought
I'm looking at the records. Yeah, you did misspeak, but that's okay. I'm curious. In all these years, did you apply for a sentence modification with the courts?
I applied for the sentence
Commutation.
Y'all denied it because I don't have the police report. And I told y'all
Your application was returned because you didn't have the police report?
From New Haven, and I explained to y'all that DOC have destroyed my property so many times that I don't really have nothing left.
Okay, no, but I meant with the courts. Did you file for a sentence modification to have your sentence reduced with the courts?
I think they did a sentence review or something like that.
I don't believe you did. No sentence modification.
A sentence review, I think, was done a long time ago in the 90s.
All right. So I went back and reviewed all of the parole file that we have. And in 2015, in preparation for that hearing, you were interviewed by a parole officer. And in that hearing, or in that interview prior to the parole hearing, you admitted to committing the robberies and the escape, but denied everything else.
I don't know which Robinson y'all got, but that definitely wasn't me. It could not have been me. There is no way. And then I asked my attorney to get a copy, and am I right or wrong, get a copy of them, the last 2 parole hearings.
We've requested that we have it received.
All right, because I would love to see that. Because I know I never, ever admitted something I didn't do.
Okay.
No
So-
disrespect.
No,
With
I
all due
understand, but
respect.
do you remember meeting with an Officer Donato?
I could have. I don't really remember. I remember Bosford. I remember Bosford from Corrigan.
Yeah, no, in 15, this was, Officer Donato interviewed you, and when I read the interview, it said that you admitted to the robberies and to the escape, but nothing else. Okay, all right.
That's right.
I read about the chess tournament that you were part of with Princeton University. That was so cool to read about. I really enjoyed that. Have you had the opportunity to do anything similar? Any collaborations with the community, or maybe talk to people who come in from the community? Have you had any experiences like that?
I don't think Connecticut allowed that. I haven't seen Connecticut, not in this level facilities. I haven't seen Connecticut allow that. They was telling New Jersey State Prison not to allow me into the Sports Illustrated. I didn't get to play in that chess because of Connecticut told them they didn't want me on in the magazine. So, but I got on ESPN. I was in ESPN though. I was definitely ESPN. You will see me on ESPN.
Okay. All right. Are you working now?
Oh no, no ma'am.
Okay. I did notice. So you're getting, looks like you're getting good time at, what is it, 12 days a month? And at one point you were getting job credit 4 to 5 days a month. Why aren't you working now?
I don't know why. I guess the job is not available. I didn't request all the jobs. Since the fight, after the ticket cleared, I think 4 or 6 months. Once the ticket cleared, I think 4 months it might be. I was requesting for a job, commissary kitchen, while I was in Corrigan, but they wasn't giving me no jobs. I don't know why, but they did. Like I say, man, I really think people don't want to see me do good. They don't want that. And all I could do is like point out the stuff that if I was such this incorrigible individual, you would have disciplinary reports for gang activity, drug activity, some type of larceny. I'm not involved in that.
Well, no, but I mean, we are concerned about all the assault, fighting, threatening, those are just as alarming.
I cannot express where a staff can write up anything. And you don't have to say a word and you can get found guilty for it.
It's just so rare that we see, and we see people with lengthy sentences all the time, that we see 462 disciplinary. Do you know that you forfeited over 5 years of good time with all these tickets?
I'm aware of that they took and they withheld for about 3 years too, worth of good time illegally.
Yeah.
So if I had my statutory good time, I probably wouldn't be having this conversation. I'd probably already be where I'm supposed to be.
Yeah. All right.
Maybe that can tell you something, miss. Maybe like y'all seen me. This is my 3rd time before the board. Y'all done seen me. So I'm saying, I might not agree or like to what you said at the parole. I definitely like being denied, but I didn't become insolent, disrespectful. Some of the people you had to tell me, hey man, you said, Robinson, you go back and get that guy and tell we ain't finished with him. Remember that time y'all told me to go back and get a certain person because he just walked out? And I went, I said, hey man, they said they want to finish talking to you. He said, man, I ain't going back. You asked me, I did that day. I remember that.
All right. So Ms. Smith-Palmieri was on your last hearing, so I'm going to turn it over to her now. Thank you.
Thank you. So, Mr. Robinson, I took the opportunity to listen to the audio recording of our last hearing, and, not much has changed. You were still working on your GED. You had done a little bit of employment at the facility in 2019. What I did make note of, you talked a little bit more at the last hearing about the Voices program, and that you thought it was a useful program, and I think you used the word informative and enlightened it.
Yeah, it's something to do positive. I was, trying to adjust and show that, I'm trying to do what is right.
Okay.
That's why I participate in the program. I got the certificates. Did you get a copy of my certificates?
Yes, we did get those from your attorney.
Yeah, I got the job.
As well, and the stuff of the information about your participation in the chess tournament. So we do have a few things. So we did talk.
Those are the certificates.
Right.
I got good work report performance and stuff like that. That's before the alleged fight or the assault in November of 2019.
Okay, Mr. Robinson. So let's talk about a couple of positive things, right? We talked a lot about your disciplinary reports. Your work reports were all excellent, as you pointed out. When you were working in the food service then, said you had a good work ethic, that you got along with others, that you went above and beyond your duties. So those are all positive. And you have been unable to get assigned to a job since then?
Since June of last year, right.
All right. And at the last hearing, you talked a little bit, although you were not assigned a job, you were doing some voluntary cleaning around the unit. Do you still do that?
Well, what I had told you is that if I walk by trash, I just don't walk over it. I'll pick it up and throw it away because I got to live in that environment. If I go in the shower area and it's dirty, I try to clean it. I don't want to be in no dirty shower. So, it's just I think it's like a natural thing to do. If I'm driving down the street and I see something laid out in the road, I see a puppy or something, I'm not just going to just drive by and then somebody else come in. I'm going to pick the puppy up and secure it, making sure it's safe. I'm not going to. It's just it's a humane thing to do.
And, we've talked a lot about not being able to take programs. What programs would you like to take?
I would like to definitely get back and finish my GED to school program and further my education or vocational, any type of vocational, maybe cutting hair, electronical or food, culinary. Wouldn't mind doing that. I like to eat.
Okay, that's a motivator, right? You like to eat, you want to cook nice things. Tasty things.
Absolutely.
Okay. I have a note here that says that you refused to sign your OAP in March of 2025 when they were adding new thoughts. Do you recall that? Because
I felt that, like I said, that it didn't apply to me under my sentence. Legally, I wasn't by it. And then it seemed like when I voluntarily signed in 2014, now it's being used against me in a negative way. I'm trying to do something positive, and then the positive thing I'm trying to do turn into a negative. I didn't think it was fair, and the staff said, no, it didn't apply to you, and I didn't have to sign it, so I didn't sign it.
Okay.
But I'm still trying to participate though in those programs though, absolutely.
Yeah, and I'm not too familiar with the ins and the outs of whether or not, you know, you have to have signed your program, your OAP to get into a program. But I think that New Thoughts is a good program for everyone and anyone. We could all benefit from New Thoughts, you know, helps you process information, helps you process your decision making. So if it comes your way, you might want to think about it. I would recommend you take advantage.
But like I said, I've been trying to do these programs voluntarily, but they telling me that I'm not on the top of the list because there's other people ahead of me that's mandated. They have obligations. And me, I don't have that obligation. But this is what they're telling me. So I don't get on the list, and I didn't have no disciplinary report at the time, so there was no excuse for me not to be allowed to participate.
Okay. And you know, you do have, I went through all your disciplinary reports because I was interested to kind of track how old you were when some of the bigger clusters of disciplinary reports happened throughout the years. And I did note that you do have small pockets where you didn't seem to have any troubles. You know, like, for example, 2017, 16, 17, 18. Looks like you were at Gardner and you didn't seem to have too much trouble. You know, I don't have any disciplinary reports throughout that particular time frame.
Right, 2016, 2017, 2018, you're correct.
Yeah. So how are you managing to stay out of trouble then? Do you recall what was going on?
Well, you know, honestly, I wasn't writing nothing up. So if you don't write nothing up, you don't really, you're under the radar. You don't get no retaliation. Once you start writing stuff up or you have an issue and then you write it up, you become a target. There's going to be some type of reprisal, informally or formal. Your informal is disciplinary reports. That's the main reprisal when you start filing grievances or filing lawsuits, etc., things like that. You start having problems bumping heads with administrative or staff.
Okay. Well, I you know, things have improved. You know, you went from in 2011 to getting roughly 87 disciplinary tickets to, you know, one or two a year for the last 5 or 6 years. So it seems like maybe you are settling in. When's the last time you talked to your uncle?
A few months ago.
A few months ago? Okay, so you do have some contact with them every few months?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, Mr. Robinson, thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Palmieri. Okay, at this time, we will ask the Office of Victim Services to facilitate input. Ms. DeJesus, thank you for joining us.
Good morning, board members. I don't see the victim on here. Can I be given a brief moment so that I can contact them?
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for your patience. I do have the victim on the line. This is your opportunity to express to the board your wishes and your concerns. I am to remind you that you are to address the panel members only, and you may begin.
Hi, I just signed in today. I mean, this is 31 years ago, and I signed in today hoping that I would see, someone that had, went from a 20-something-year-old to an adult and grew up and was able to, point out what they've done over the years, how they've, whatever. There's all kind of things. It's just, it seems like there's lots of unresolved issues here with his cases, with, all these things that went on. I'm not sure, where you're going to go with this, but I don't know why we're even at this point if all the other criminal cases in his mind are unresolved. He's basically still saying, I wasn't there, I didn't do it, there's no direct evidence. So I really would like to see, I love it when people get out and stay out. That's the best, but it seems like there's a lot of unresolved issues. Thank you for letting me speak.
Thank you. That's all I have, board members.
Thank you.
Thank you. At this time, we are going to offer each of the attorneys an opportunity to speak and make a statement. We'll begin with State's Attorney Gdansky. If you have any remarks you'd like to make, you may do so now.
Thank you, and thank you for inviting me to the hearing. Upon getting notice of the hearing, I was able to find the old files and I was able to forward them to the board. Has the board had an opportunity to see the old files, which included some photographs?
Yes.
Okay, I have a copy.
Yeah.
I have a copy of the photograph for the victim, for Mr. Robinson, with me, and I could hold it up to the camera if you need me to.
It was in relation to the riot that took place. There were
Yes.
photos.
Yeah, it wasn't very clear.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you could hold it up.
Yeah.
It wasn't very clear. Oh, yeah. Yeah,
Photocopy of that, so.
Yeah.
it's a photocopy, so it's not very clear. Yeah. Thank you.
Obviously a very serious injury. And it is unfortunate that Mr. Robinson went into corrections at a fairly young age. And you have all these records, but just for the record, I'll repeat some of it. He was at Morgan Street and Union Avenue as a fairly young adult, and ultimately to New Haven Correctional Center. And then I'm assuming after that conviction from New Haven, they transferred him to Manson Youth. And so he spent some time at Manson where he probably should have been from the beginning. And I know corrections would handle a person of Mr. Robinson's age at this time much differently than they did back then. When he committed the crime here in Tallinn, taking part in the riot and assaulting C.O. Surkowski, he was 20 years old. And when he was sentenced, he was 21. And I could see from the records that he's had discretionary parole hearings before, and the board spoke about it this morning, in December of 2015, and then again in May of 23. I know the board mentioned 462 tickets. I don't want to quibble, but the number looks to me like 482. I'm not sure I've seen a total as high as Mr. Robinson's, perhaps with the exception of one inmate in my entire career. And as the board noted, he has had 2 disciplinary reports since his last discretionary parole hearing. He had a security tampering in April of 24, and then the fighting in June of 24. He also has that 3-year consecutive sentence out of Rhode Island that Mr. Robinson euphemistically refers to as a possession charge, but the board knows that that was a weapon charge. And unfortunately, he has spent most of his life in prison. But the more unfortunate thing is, instead of taking the opportunities that corrections has provided to him over many, many years, he has not taken many of those opportunities. In fact, has continued to engage in violent, sometimes criminal behavior, including the riot in Summers back in 1990. I know for Mr. Robinson, he wants to put it all on that I didn't do this. And in fact, that seems to be a theme for Mr. Robinson. It's never his fault. It's always somebody else's fault. But there were witnesses. There was an eyewitness that identified him as the one who assaulted CO Sierkowski. But there were other witnesses as well that testified and made statements that he was part of the riot. Part of the record that I forwarded to the board was a statement from another CO that said on the above date, which was April 19th, while escorting inmate Robinson, he stated, quote unquote, "Mark my words, Allah, as my witness, I'm going to kill one of you motherfuckers and I'll have to go to the electric chair." This occurred in segregation. Mr. Robinson did take part in this riot, and it was a riot, and 3 corrections officers were injured very severely. He's not George Floyd, and he's not Emmett Till. He's not a victim. And unfortunately, he has very little insight as to his role in all of his actions. No acceptance of responsibility. It's always somebody else's fault. In fact, he stated today he wasn't the one who even committed the robbery. And he wasn't in this correctional facility or not. It just seems it's always some sort of dodge, somebody else's fault, not his. And to me, that's the real unfortunate part of all of this. That so many years later, decades later, there's no insight, there's no acceptance of responsibility. And as the board pointed out, I don't have access to these records. The opportunities that Mr. Robinson must have been presented over the years and decades, he's taken very little of them. I cannot think of a worse candidate for parole. And I know Mr. Robinson's gonna be on the street at some point. As the board pointed out, he's given up almost 5 years of good time. He might have been out if he could have just behaved himself, but he can't. He can't because he doesn't take the opportunities that corrections presents to him to better himself and provide insight to himself. And he's still a violent, aggressive person. And maybe those things go hand in hand. So I can't think of a worse candidate for parole. I know we're here because of a change in the law. And in fact, he's already had 2 parole hearings. I don't know when the next one occurs, but maybe at this later stage in his life, perhaps Mr. Robinson hears the board, and I heard the board today, questioning, and I'm reading between the lines of why you didn't sign the plan and why didn't you take this opportunity. Behave yourself so you can get a job. Maybe he finally hears the voice of the board and he can see a path out, and that is to behave himself and take the opportunities and maybe better himself. But at this point, even after all these years, after all these decades, he's not there yet. And I'd ask the board to deny this parole.
Thank you, Attorney Gdansky.
Thank you. At this time, Attorney Proshaw, if you have any final remarks you'd like to make, you may do so now as well.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for this opportunity. Just to clarify, was that Officer Sierkowski on the phone as the?
Mr. Jesus?
I'm trying to figure out who was on the phone.
Yeah, I'm asking the office. Yeah, I'm asking the Office of Victim Services now.
Thank you.
Madam Chair?
Yes. The question is, which victim gave a statement today?
I would have to confer with my supervisor to see if that's something that, because I was under the understanding that the victims don't have to state their name as long as we verify that they are a victim.
Okay.
Do you wish for me to verify that with my supervisor?
Please, yeah. We don't need a full name, maybe just initials if that's okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Initials.
I think there's not normally multiple victims, so you're left guessing. I don't know. We'll see what they come back with.
All right, would you like me to proceed or should we?
Please, yeah, please.
Thank you. Mr. Robinson is asking me to share with the board that he was never at Morgan Street. But I will try to be brief. Sentences should reflect the seriousness of the offense and be proportional to the harm to the victims. We believe that 38 years that Mr. Robinson has served has certainly accomplished that goal. His case serves the cautionary tale to anyone who might consider committing the same offense. Mr. Robinson has made substantial efforts towards improving himself. Although he has stated the OAP doesn't apply to him, it hasn't stopped him from participating in programs. He's also on the waiting list for others. I think he should be given full credit for his voluntary participation in those programs. It also deserves noting that despite his limited means and abilities to contribute to others, he was able to contribute to the nonprofit National Diaper Bank Network. In terms of a discharge plan, Mr. Robinson will benefit from the structure and support that might be offered from a halfway house. He has also indicated there's someone who will help with employment, but if that falls through, he will need some additional support. In terms of employment, he's expressed interest in being a hearse driver, as well as getting a job in pest control. His goal is to live a humble, meaningful life without ever getting into trouble again. For those reasons, we ask the board to find that there's a reasonable probability that he will live at liberty without violating the law, and that the benefits to society weigh in favor of granting him parole and to grant his parole. I believe that granting him parole will promote respect for the law by recognizing that the sentencing judge did not have the benefit of the Miller-Graham decision, and that this body can now do right by Mr. Robinson. Without minimizing the injuries suffered by the victims, we know that people have been convicted of far more serious crimes, including murder, who have served less time. It also deserves noting that Mr. Robinson was found not guilty at trial of the charge of assault first. In closing, 38 years is a very long time for a person who began as being incarcerated at 16 years old. We believe he deserves a chance at a meaningful opportunity to live his life outside and to begin his life again. So we're hoping, Your Honor, the board will grant application for parole.
For the display, you said I had 2 for the security check.
Yes, and he asked me to inform the board that he was found, he's found not guilty of one of
what the Harper, Mr. Matthews said, for security tampering.
Yes.
That was wrong.
Of one of the
not guilty.
Tickets that with which he was charged, he was found not guilty.
Didn't see a not guilty ticket in there.
Yeah, there is a not guilty ticket from April of 2024 for security tampering. Yeah.
He said I was found guilty.
Oh,
So
okay.
If it's not guilty, I apologize. I can't see the finding. I can just see the sanction. So there's a punitive segregation, 10 days.
No,
And
that's
assault.
for the assault underneath it.
I see. Okay, I apologize then. But it is still listed on his.
Right, that's all them disciplinary reports that you named, the number, what you said, 580 something.
No, he said 482, but yes,
Oh, okay.
this incarceration, we have 462 guilty disciplinary reports.
I see. Okay,
Yes.
I understand now.
I understand where you got the number. Yep. Okay.
Regardless if I'm found not guilty or
Yeah.
acquitted at trial, they still are listed, so it doesn't matter. And one other thing, sir, on that riot, I hate to inform you, but I don't know if you ever heard of Commissioner Larry R. Beecham. He never declared April the 19th, 1990 as a riot. That's the law. He never declared that incident as a riot. So, you know, that's in black and white.
Okay. Thank you, Attorney Kershaw. You're all set, right?
yes, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, let's circle back to the Office of Victim Services. Ms. DeJesus, did we get a response? Yeah, please. Oh, here she is.
Madam Chair, I'm still waiting for a response.
Okay. Would you like to recess until we get a response from the Office of Victim Services? Attorney Kershaw?
Yes, Mr. Robinson is indicating yes, you would like to recess.
Okay, let's take a 5-minute recess. We'll come back.
Thank you. Yes.
Okay, so we're back on the record and we do not use full victims' names on a live stream, but the Office of Victim Services is going to give us the initials of the victim. Mr. Jesus, thank you.
Chairwoman, they are DS.
DS, thank you very much. Is that sufficient?
Well, we still don't know how that person is related to this case.
He was a victim of an assault.
Well, not the assault of which Mr. Robinson was convicted.
The documents that we received and have reviewed, he is.
We good,
Oh, I'm sorry, my mistake.
we good.
All right, okay, thank you. Thank you for doing that.
No, sorry.
Thank you. Okay, we're done with all the statements. So at this point, the panel is going to discuss your case. You can listen to our deliberation and we'll come back to you with our decision. Mr. Sazowskis, we'll begin with you.
Sure, thank you, Madam Chair. So Mr. Robinson is, looks like 54, right? He'll be 55 tomorrow. So, you know, during our questioning and in documents, he claims his position is that he's innocent of all of these charges and most of the disciplinary reports. Tried to get him to come around and express some remorse or apology, and he did mention some things about not listening to his family when he was younger. But that was about as far as we got. He did complete the Voices program, seems to have gained something out of that. It was back in 2019. He has some good work reports from his time while he's working. He's not working now. He seems to gain some insight from his religious services that seem to help him, as he articulated. He's been educating himself and has completed what it sounds like is probably 75% of his GED. He's got some more work to do on the math section. You know, he said a couple of times, 2 people don't want me to do good. So I just wanted to put that on there. I mean, speaking on behalf of me, I want him to do good. I want him to complete more programs and to not get disciplinary reports and be able to be ready to go out to the community and not be having more problems, you know? So I think that he should know there are people that want him to do well. And it is not the case that the entire world is against him and does not want him to do well. So considering everything that we've read and we've talked about today, I'm very concerned about the disciplinary reports. We've talked about it. At his age, at this point, his incarceration, it's unusual to see this happening. He was just in a fighting situation that he described, and he thought that there was no other way that he could have handled that without getting a disciplinary report, which is concerning to me, that he can't look back and figure out a way out of that situation without having gotten a disciplinary report. So for me today, I just don't think he's ready. And I think he should really try to stay disciplinary report free so he can get himself into this New Thoughts program that we talked about, and complete anger management is also on his offender accountability plan, and get back to working in the facility, you know, continue with his religious services and stay on a positive path, and getting himself prepared for release. At some point, he's going to get out. But for me today, I cannot support his parole.
Yeah, I mean, it's so unfortunate that what started as a 10-year sentence is now 55 and a half years. It's like, it's so hard to really wrap in. Sad. It's just so sad. But sentencing and length of sentencing, that's not our role. Our role is to determine if someone is rehabilitated and suitable, ready to be released to the community. We don't set the sentences. We don't. But it's just so difficult with these disciplinary reports, and right now he's not working and not in any program, so we can't really counterbalance all of the disciplinary reports. I certainly would bring him back. You know, I mean, he's got about 6 years left on this sentence, and I'd hate to see him go to the end. Ms. McCall-Mary?
I agree with everything that's been said. I mean, without some programming, it's difficult to really measure offender change. I think on a positive side, you know, I agree with Mr. Staskis we would like to see Mr. Robinson suitable.
Yeah,
And bringing him back, I think it's a great opportunity for him to work on what
Yeah.
we've asked him twice now to work on, but we're not giving up.
right.
He talked about not being so impulsive, understands life isn't
Mhm.
fair. I'd like to see him, those, because some of these disciplinary reports are impulsivity and not responding to difficult situations in a different way. So I do agree, in terms of he's not suitable for parole today, and would agree to bring him back as well.
What time frame?
Yeah, so, I mean, he has, it's like about 6 years left.
6 years left, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if he were to come back in say 2 or 3 years and he has no disciplinary reports and some programs, can do anger management and new thoughts, continue his religious services, I think he'd be in a better position in a couple of years. So I don't know what.
I think, nothing more than 3 years. I don't know if 2 is enough.
Okay.
3 years.
For him to really kind of show.
All right. And then he'll still have 3 years to
Okay,
do
see, that's
supervision
fair.
in the community.
Mhm.
All right. What is today's date?
April 2025, so
April, yeah.
April
April
2028.
4th, okay. Okay, in the matter of Shawn Robinson, inmate number 148846, I'll make a motion to deny parole at this time, but we'll rehear the case in April of 2028. Reasons for denial being poor institutional adjustment, disciplinary reports, and inadequate program participation. We're going to recommend that you participate in positive programs to include anger management, new thoughts, and anything else. Continue with your education and avoid any further disciplinary reports. Is there a second to the motion? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, we thank everyone for their participation. Mr. Robinson, we hope that you'll get into programs and avoid disciplinary reports for your next hearing. Good luck to you, sir.
Thank you all. This concludes the Public Act 23169 for Shawn Robinson, inmate number 148846, and it is 12:20 p.m.
Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. He hung up on us.
That was a wild one today. That was definitely wild right there. His lawyer, I'm pretty sure he's shaking in his boots right now. I missed. How long has he? How long? I'm not sure. I didn't even catch that. I just heard that he was denied. He hung up on them. Oh man. I think let me double check the schedule here because I believe this was the last one for it was going to be the last one for Connecticut over here. I think there was only 2 names on here not to appear. There was 2 other individuals that were set not to appear. But let's see if you will. Let me see here. Thank you. I got a damn text message. Lord is good. He shut off. Hopefully 6 years don't turn into 60. He has 6 more years? Damn it. Hey guys, so man, hey, I'm hungry right now. I'm gonna take a small little break. I'm gonna get something to eat and then we'll go ahead and come back. We'll go ahead and jump on the TK account if you will. I know some of you guys have been asking me, so I'll go ahead and get it up and running. I'm gonna eat and then we'll be right back after these messages, if you will. Yes, 2028 is when they said, okay, so he'll be back in 3. All right. Hey, just want to let you guys know that I do appreciate you guys. And once I do cut this stream, I'm going to transfer whoever of you guys that want to stay on. I'm actually running another stream for Polk County. So you're more than welcome to, to stay on it. So it'll transfer you over there automatically. Lawyer said, 2 things through the whole thing. He's been in jail longer than what he should have been because it can seem to change his behavior. Play the sound. Drop one, flush one, if you will. All right, I'll drop the link for you guys for those of you guys that want the link. Product of the environment, right? Let me see. Let me get that link for you right now. So this is going to be Polk County, the stream that I'm talking about right now. I don't believe they think they're in the process of beginning right now. It looks interesting. They do have numerous screens. So I'll put that. There we go. There goes one link, and then I'll drop the other link to the other stream. Let me see here. I think that was the vertical one. Let me send it over here to this one here. Let me see. Let me see. All right. All right, guys. Hey, like I said, I'm going to go ahead and take a break. I'll be back shortly. Drop the link on the chat if you want to go ahead and hit that. And then once I start back up, I'll go ahead and let you guys know, for those of you that are going to be going over to Polk County. All right. I am Collect Call James. You are watching. You have a collect call from. And like I said right here, life's like a candle. Once you blow it out, it's lights out. And with that, I'm out. A rato.